The illusion of continuity, is life a seamless thread, or is it merely a collection of fragmented snapshots we stitch together in our minds? Picture yourself standing at the edge of a river, watching its surface ripple and shimmer under the sunlight. At first glance, it seems continuous, a flowing, unbroken current. But if you were to freeze that motion, frame by frame, you'd see something else entirely. Droplets suspended midair, eddies collapsing into stillness, chaos frozen into moments. Life, too, might deceive us this way. What feels like an uninterrupted flow could be nothing more than a series of instants stitched together by the mind's need for coherence. When you look back on your day, do you remember every second as it unfolded? Or do you piece together fragments, your morning coffee, a conversation with a friend, the sound of rain against the window, and call it a whole? The truth is unsettling. Our brains don't record reality like cameras. They process it in fleeting bursts, capturing flashes of sensory data and then weaving them into a story. Cognitive science tells us that what we perceive as now isn't real time at all. It's already slightly delayed, reconstructed from scraps of information. This raises a haunting question. Are we living in the present, or are we always just one step behind, piecing together echoes of what has already passed? Henri Bergson once spoke of durée, a fluid, indivisible experience of time that exists beyond clocks and calendars. He believed that true duration was not something measurable, but deeply subjective, felt rather than thought. Yet even he acknowledged the tension between this pure flow and the fragmented way we process it. If our minds are constantly editing reality, filling gaps, smoothing transitions, imposing order, how much of life as we know it is authentic and how much is fabrication? Consider the emotional weight of this realization. If there's no solid thread connecting one moment to the next, then perhaps identity itself is more fragile than we'd like to admit. Think about who you are now versus who you were yesterday or 10 years ago. Do those versions of yourself feel connected because they truly are, or simply because your mind insists on creating continuity where none may exist? And yet, paradoxically, the very act of questioning continuity reinforces its importance. Without some belief in a coherent narrative, wouldn't existence feel meaningless? Without the illusion of seamlessness, would we crumble under the weight of fragmentation? Imagine trying to live without trust in continuity. Every breath would feel disjointed, every decision arbitrary. You'd wake up each morning unsure whether today will follow the rules of yesterday, or if the world will suddenly rewrite itself while you blink. In some ways, we already glimpse this uncertainty in dreams, where logic dissolves and time stretches unpredictably. Yet when we wake, we cling to the comforting assumption that waking life operates differently, that it adheres to patterns, rhythms, laws. But what if it doesn't? What if the only thing holding the fragments together is our refusal to let them fall apart? And so we arrive at memory, the glue that binds these scattered pieces into something resembling wholeness. Memory shapes not only how we recall the past, but also how we imagine the future. It gives us the illusion of progress, the sense that we're moving forward along a clear path. But what happens when memory falters? When details blur, emotions shift, narratives rewrite themselves over time? Can we ever really trust the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, or are they just another layer of illusion? Let's continue. If continuity is suspect, then what role does memory play in shaping our understanding of time? Is memory a bridge or merely a mirage? Does it link us to our past or lead us further away from it, each step rewriting the footprints behind us? Neurologists have shown how memories are not stored as perfect snapshots, but are reconstructed, rebuilt each time we access them. And with each reconstruction, a detail may shift, a color may fade, a new element might slip in unnoticed. The more we remember, the more we edit. And yet, these imperfect recollections form the very backbone of our identity. Isn't that a kind of paradox? That the sense of who we are, So central, so foundational, rests not on solid ground, but on shifting sands of perception and recall. Still, we cling to these fragile threads, not because they are flawless, but because they are all we have. They tether us to meaning, to each other, to some semblance of self. And perhaps in accepting the illusion of continuity, we begin to see its quiet beauty, not as deception, but as the mind's poetry, weaving chaos into a story we can live by. Memory, the architect of time. Do we truly remember, or do we simply believe we're remembering? Think about it. When you close your eyes and summon a memory, how much of what comes to mind is real, and how much has been reshaped by time, emotion, or even wishful thinking? Picture yourself recalling a childhood moment. You see the colors, hear the laughter, feel the warmth of sunlight on your skin. But is that scene an exact replica of what happened, or has it been subtly rewritten over the years, like ink fading and re-inked by the pen of hindsight? Memory isn't just a passive record keeper, it's an active architect, shaping not only our past, but also our present and future. It doesn't merely preserve fragments of experience, it interprets them, molds them, gives them meaning. Philosophers have long grappled with this dual nature of memory. John Locke once argued that personal identity itself hinges on memory. If you can't recall being someone, are you still the same person? But modern neuroscience reveals a far messier truth. Memories aren't stored in pristine files, ready to be retrieved at will. They're dynamic constructs, assembled anew each time they're accessed. Every recollection carries traces of the context in which it's remembered, the mood you're in, the stories you've told about it, the emotions swirling around you. Each retrieval alters the memory slightly, but adding layers of interpretation until the original event becomes almost unrecognizable. This fluidity raises unsettling questions. If memories are constantly reconstructed, then how reliable are they as evidence of who we are or what we've lived through? Imagine waking up tomorrow unable to recall yesterday. Would tomorrow lose all meaning without the anchor of remembered time? Without memory, there would be no thread connecting one moment to the next, no narrative to hold our lives together. And yet, paradoxically, what if perfect memory were equally imprisoning? What if every detail of the past remained etched into our minds, unchanged and unchangeable? Could we grow, adapt, forgive, or move forward if we were forever tethered to history, exactly as it happened? Perhaps the imperfection of memory is both its flaw and its gift, a way for us to carry the essence of the past while leaving room for transformation. Consider the emotional weight of forgetting. When someone dear to you passes away, their absence leaves a void, but so does the gradual erosion of specific details about them. The sound of their voice softens, the texture of shared moments blurs. Grief intertwines with guilt. Why didn't I pay closer attention? Why can't I hold on to everything? Yet forgetting isn't always failure. Sometimes it's mercy, a release from pain, a chance to heal. Other times, it's creativity, a way for memory to reimagine events, smoothing sharp edges, finding beauty in broken places. But here lies another paradox. If memory shapes not just the past, but also our expectations for the future, then what happens when it distorts reality? Our predictions about tomorrow are built on lessons learned from yesterday, but those lessons may themselves be flawed reconstructions. A traumatic memory might lead us to anticipate danger where none exists, while a rose-tinted recollection could blind us to risks ahead. Memory writes the script of our lives, but it's not an infallible author. Its biases, gaps, and embellishments shape how we understand ourselves and ultimately how we navigate existence. And so we return to the fragility of memory. Can we ever truly know the past, or are we always reconstructing it according to the needs of the present? Is authenticity found in fidelity to facts or in the meanings we create from fragments? These questions linger, unresolved, inviting further reflection. A deeper mystery awaits. How long is the present moment before it slips away entirely? The fragility of the present moment. How long is now before it vanishes? Try to grasp the present moment as it unfolds. You'll find it slipping through your fingers like sand. It's there, and then it's gone, leaving only the faintest trace in its wake. The present is elusive, fleeting, almost impossible to hold on to. Yet, paradoxically, it's the only thing we ever truly inhabit. Every breath, every heartbeat, every thought exists within this razor-thin sliver of time we call now. But what does its fragility reveal about us and about our relationship with existence itself? Philosophers have wrestled with the nature of the present for centuries. Augustine once described it as a knife edge between the past and the future, so infinitesimally small that it barely exists at all. He wondered how something so fleeting could carry such weight, how it could be the foundation of everything we experience. Modern neuroscience echoes his insight, revealing that what we perceive as now isn't even real time. Our brains process sensory information with a slight delay, stitching together fragments of data to create the illusion of immediacy. By the time we become aware of the present, it's already tinged with the past, shaped by anticipation of the future. What we call now is less a moment than a mosaic, a fragile construct assembled from echoes and guesses. This realization forces us to confront a profound paradox. The present is both everything and nothing. On one hand, it's the only space where life happens, the only time when action, choice, and connection feel real. On the other hand, it's constantly dissolving into memory, slipping away before we can fully grasp it. Think about it. No matter how hard you try, you can't step into the same river twice, or even once. Each instant flows forward, irretrievable, leaving behind only ripples. And yet, knowing this impermanence doesn't diminish the present. It intensifies it. There's a haunting beauty in its transience, a reminder that every moment is precious, precisely because it won't last. Why do we cling to the present so fiercely, despite its evanescence? Perhaps because it represents freedom, the only time when we can act, decide, or change course. The past is fixed, immutable. The future is uncertain, hypothetical. But the present? It's alive, electric, brimming with possibility. Even if it lasts only milliseconds, those milliseconds are ours to shape. This awareness invites both gratitude and urgency. Knowing that each moment will vanish forever urges us to pay attention, to savor the taste of coffee, the sound of laughter, the warmth of sunlight on skin. At the same time, it reminds us of our powerlessness against the relentless march of time. No matter how tightly we grip the present, it will always slip away. Consider the emotional weight of this duality. On one level, the fragility of the present feels cruel, a reminder of how little control we have over our lives. We build plans, nurture relationships, chase dreams, only to watch them dissolve into memory. Yet on another level, this impermanence carries a strange kind of liberation. If nothing lasts, then perhaps failure isn't final, success isn't permanent, and mistakes aren't etched in stone. Everything becomes lighter, more fluid, more forgiving. The present moment isn't just a container for experience, it's also an invitation to let go. And yet, what happens when we lose touch with the present? When distraction pulls us into the past or propels us toward the future? Anxiety often arises from living too far ahead, regret from lingering too far behind. Both states rob us of the richness of now, trapping us in timelines that don't exist. Returning to the present requires effort, an act of mindfulness, a conscious decision to anchor ourselves in the here and now. But even then, the present remains slippery, refusing to be pinned down. Perhaps that's part of its magic. It keeps us humble, reminding us that life isn't something we can own, it's something we borrow, moment by moment. What does this fragility teach us about ourselves? About time? About the human condition? These questions linger, unresolved, inviting deeper reflection. Now, turn the page. What if sleep, that daily retreat from consciousness, is a rehearsal for non-existence? Sleep, a daily death. What if sleep is a rehearsal for non-existence? Every night we close our eyes and surrender to the unknown, a state where awareness dissolves, time stretches into infinity, and the boundaries between self and world blur beyond recognition. For hours, we drift in darkness, trusting that consciousness will return unscathed. Yet, isn't it strange how willingly we embrace this daily plunge into oblivion? We lie down, breathe deeply, and let go, knowing full well there are no guarantees. What does this act reveal about us? Is sleep merely a biological necessity, or is it something deeper, a fleeting encounter with the void? Sleep challenges everything we think we know about continuity and control. In waking life, we cling to routines, schedules, and plans, building structures to anchor ourselves against uncertainty. But when night falls, all of that dissolves. The mind shuts off, the body stills, and we step, or perhaps stumble, into a realm beyond reason. Ancient cultures understood this liminal space intuitively. They saw sleep not as an escape from reality, but as a threshold, a doorway hovering halfway between life and death. Even today, science confirms its restorative power, how it resets neural circuits, consolidates memories, and restores balance to the psyche. And yet, beneath these explanations lies a more unsettling truth. Every time we fall asleep, we gamble with existence itself. Consider this: when you close your eyes tonight, what assurance do you have that they'll open again tomorrow? None, really. There's no contract signed, no promise guaranteed. You simply trust, blindly, instinctively, that biology will hold steady, that breath will follow breath, that morning will come. This trust feels natural, almost effortless. After all, most of us wake up each day without incident, ready to pick up where we left off. But why does this acceptance feel so different from the terror we associate with death? Perhaps because sleep offers a comforting illusion of control. It's temporary, predictable, cyclical. Death, on the other hand, feels final, an abyss too vast to comprehend. And yet, sleep teaches us something profound about endings and beginnings. Each night, we practice letting go, not just of consciousness, but of identity itself. Dreams carry us to worlds untethered by logic, where laws of physics bend, memories merge, and selves multiply. In these moments, the fragile construct we call self unravels, revealing glimpses of something larger, stranger, more fluid. Could it be that sleep reminds us of existence's impermanence, not as a threat, but as a gift? That endings aren't failures, but transformations, doorways opening onto new possibilities? But here lies the paradox. While sleep invites surrender, it also exposes vulnerability. If slipping into unconsciousness is so easy, what does that say about the permanence of who we are? Are we merely patterns of thought and memory, flickering briefly before fading away? Or is there something enduring beneath the surface, something that persists even as the waves crash over it? These questions linger quietly in the twilight hours, haunting yet humbling, urging us to look closer at the edges of being. Moreover, sleep blurs the line between self and environment. When you dream, where does your mind end and the world begin? Are you truly asleep, or has part of you wandered elsewhere, exploring realms inaccessible during waking life? Dreams remind us that reality is far stranger than we imagine, that the boundaries we take for granted are porous, shifting, illusory. Maybe sleep isn't just a pause, but a portal, a way of touching the infinite without fully crossing over. In the end, sleep forces us to confront both fragility and resilience. It shows us how easily we can slip away and how effortlessly we return. It asks us to trust not in permanence, but in cycles, rhythms, renewal. And perhaps in doing so, it prepares us for the ultimate letting go. Let's follow that thread further. What if tomorrow never comes? Why does that thought terrify us even as it soothes us? What if tomorrow never comes? What if tomorrow never comes? The thought sends a shiver down your spine, doesn't it? Yet, paradoxically, it can also bring a strange sense of relief. Imagine waking up one morning, or perhaps not waking at all, and realizing that time has stopped. No sunrise, no clock ticking forward, no next chapter waiting to unfold. Everything ends here now in this moment. On one hand, the absence of tomorrow threatens everything we hold dear. plans unfinished, words unspoken, dreams unrealized. On the other hand, it liberates us from the relentless pressure to prepare, to achieve, to persist. Why does this duality exist within us, and what does it reveal about how we live our lives? The idea of tomorrow's non-existence forces us to confront two opposing forces: fear and freedom. Fear arises because humans are wired to anticipate the future. Survival itself depends on planning for what lies ahead. We store food, build shelters, save money, and dream of better days. All acts rooted in the assumption that tomorrow will come. But freedom emerges when we imagine a world without tomorrow. Without the weight of expectation, without the burden of what's next, life becomes startlingly simple. Every action exists only for itself, every moment stripped of its obligations to the future. Existentialists like Søren Kierkegaard explored this tension, arguing that anxiety stems from the infinite possibilities of the future, while peace resides in accepting finitude. In essence, imagining a world without tomorrow strips away illusions, leaving only raw truth. If tomorrow never arrives, what meaning do today's actions hold? Would we live differently knowing there's no sequel to this moment? Perhaps we'd savor every breath, every touch, every word. Or perhaps we descend into nihilism, seeing effort as futile. Either way, the question reveals how deeply tethered our lives are to the belief in continuation. Think about it. Why do we work so hard, sacrifice so much, endure so many hardships, if not for the promise of a brighter tomorrow? Without that promise, would we still rise early, chase goals, nurture relationships? Or would we let go entirely, surrendering to the present with reckless abandon? But here lies the unsettling possibility. If tomorrow might not come, why do we act as though it's guaranteed? We plan careers, raise children, invest in futures that may never arrive. We say, "I'll start tomorrow," or "there's always next time," postponing joy, growth, connection. What happens when tomorrow fails to materialize? Do we regret the moments we wasted chasing something that never came? Or do we find solace in having lived fully, even imperfectly, until the end? Consider the emotional weight of this realization. Knowing that tomorrow isn't certain could paralyze us, or it could free us. It could make us cherish the ordinary, finding beauty in the mundane, the warmth of sunlight on skin, the sound of laughter, the quiet rhythm of breathing. It could remind us that life is fragile, fleeting, precious, not something to be taken for granted, but something to be held gently, like a bird resting in our hands. At the same time, it could expose the futility of attachment, urging us to let go of control, to release the need for permanence. After all, if nothing lasts, then perhaps everything matters, and nothing matters at the same time. And yet, despite this fragility, we continue to believe in tomorrow. Why? Is it hope, habit, denial, or simply survival? Maybe it's all of these things intertwined, a complex web of instincts, emotions, and stories we tell ourselves to keep moving forward. Maybe belief in tomorrow isn't just practical, it's essential. Without it, would we crumble under the weight of uncertainty, or would we discover a new kind of strength, learning to live fully in the face of impermanence? This tension between fear and freedom shapes our relationship with time. It pushes us to create, to love, to strive, but it also pulls us toward restlessness, dissatisfaction, and longing. Perhaps the key lies not in choosing one over the other, but in holding them together, embracing both the urgency and the uncertainty, to live as though tomorrow matters and as though it might not, to find balance between preparation and presence, ambition and acceptance. A deeper mystery awaits. Do we believe in tomorrow simply because the alternative is unbearable? Belief as a survival mechanism. Do we believe in tomorrow because the alternative is unbearable? Imagine waking up each morning with the unshakable conviction that this could be your last day, and truly meaning it. Could you face the day ahead without crumbling under the weight of its finality? Most of us couldn't. Our minds are not built to endure such raw confrontation with impermanence. Instead, we carry within us a quiet, almost instinctual faith in continuation, a belief that tomorrow will come, no matter how uncertain today feels. This belief isn't just optimism, it's survival. It's a shield, a lifeline, a fragile thread holding us steady against the abyss of uncertainty. From an evolutionary perspective, belief in the future has always been essential. Early humans relied on delayed gratification, planting seeds they wouldn't harvest for months, building shelters to protect against storms yet to arrive. These acts required trust in something beyond the immediate moment, the promise of reward, safety, or sustenance down the line. Without this capacity to envision and anticipate, survival itself would have been impossible. Modern psychology echoes this insight, showing how hope operates as a cognitive buffer against despair. Viktor Frankl, who endured the horrors of Nazi concentration camps, argued that meaning-making was crucial for enduring suffering. Even amidst unimaginable loss, those who found purpose in the possibility of a better future were more likely to persevere. Belief in tomorrow extends this principle, offering a mental foothold when everything else seems to crumble. But what happens when belief falters? When wars rage, economies collapse, or personal tragedies strike, the illusion of tomorrow can shatter, leaving people adrift in existential crisis. The world feels chaotic, unpredictable, indifferent. Yet, even in these moments, many find ways to rebuild their faith in the future. They cling to small certainties, a loved one's smile, the rhythm of seasons, the stubborn persistence of life itself. This resilience reveals something profound. Belief in tomorrow isn't merely logical, it's visceral, almost instinctual. It's woven into the fabric of human existence, a reflex born of millennia spent navigating uncertainty. Still, we must ask, at what cost do we cling to this belief? Does it blind us to the beauty of the present? Consider how often we defer joy, telling ourselves, "I'll appreciate it later," or "there's always next time." We sacrifice now for the sake of then, postponing fulfillment until some imagined future that may never arrive. And yet, without belief in tomorrow, would we still strive, dream, create? Would we rise from the ashes of failure, nurture relationships, or plant trees whose shade we'll never sit under? Belief in tomorrow fuels action, but it also carries the risk of distraction from the richness of the here and now. Perhaps the answer lies in balance, to believe in tomorrow without forgetting today, to hold space for both urgency and patience, planning and presence. After all, belief doesn't have to mean denial. It can coexist with awareness of fragility, with gratitude for what is already here. Think about it. Why does a sunset feel so poignant? Because it reminds us of endings, but also beginnings. Each dusk gives way to dawn. Each goodbye hints at reunion. Belief in tomorrow isn't just escapism. It's a way of honoring continuity, of finding coherence in chaos. And yet there's a paradox in this reliance on belief. On one hand, it keeps us grounded, giving structure to our days and direction to our efforts. On the other hand, it exposes our vulnerability, the fact that we cannot survive without illusions, however necessary they may be. What does this say about us, about the human condition? Are we masters of our destiny or prisoners of our need for certainty? Let's continue. Is hope merely a trick of the brain designed to keep us moving forward despite the odds? The last function of consciousness, is hope just a trick of the brain to keep moving? Or is it something more, a spark of transcendence that elevates humanity beyond its biological programming? Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a vast, uncharted wilderness. The path ahead is shrouded in fog, and every step feels uncertain. Yet, deep within you, there's a whisper, a quiet insistence that somewhere beyond the horizon lies clarity, warmth, meaning. This is hope, the voice that urges us forward when evidence suggests we should stop. But is this voice a gift or a deception? Hope operates at the intersection of emotion and cognition, blending logic with longing. It allows us to envision possibilities beyond immediate reality, fueling creativity, resilience, and action. Philosophers like Ernst Bloch saw hope not merely as an individual impulse, but as a collective force driving human progress. He described it as the engine behind utopian visions, the audacity to imagine worlds better than the one we inhabit. Neurologically, hope activates reward centers in the brain, releasing dopamine and reinforcing behaviors tied to perseverance. In moments of despair, it becomes a lifeline, pulling us out of darkness and into the light of possibility. And yet, critics argue that hope can become a form of denial, a way to avoid confronting harsh truths. When faced with inevitable endings, whether personal or societal, clinging too tightly to hope might prevent acceptance, prolonging suffering rather than alleviating it. Consider someone waiting for redemption that never comes, or a community holding on to promises of justice long after systems have failed them. At what point does hope shift from being a source of strength to a barrier against reality? Without hope, life risks becoming a sterile exercise in survival. Imagine existing without the belief that tomorrow could be brighter, that effort might lead to reward, that love might endure despite loss. Would we still rise each morning if we believed nothing awaited us but monotony or pain? Hope transforms existence from mere endurance into something richer, fuller. It gives texture to our days, purpose to our struggles, and direction to our dreams. But here lies the paradox. Too much hope carries its own dangers. When expectations outpace reality, disappointment looms large. Dreams deferred can breed disillusionment, bitterness, even apathy. Striking a balance requires wisdom, recognizing that hope alone won't alter outcomes, but that it can profoundly shape how we experience them. Hope doesn't guarantee success, it guarantees perspective. It reframes failure as part of a larger journey, setbacks as stepping stones rather than dead ends. Consider this: if hope is indeed a trick of the brain, is it one worth perpetuating? After all, without it, would we still strive, dream, create? Would art exist if artists believed their work would vanish unnoticed? Would revolutions ignite if people doubted change was possible? Even if hope distorts reality, it also expands it, opening doors to potentialities otherwise unseen. Perhaps the question isn't whether hope is real, but whether it's necessary and transformative enough to justify its illusions. Moreover, hope reveals something profound about consciousness itself. While animals react to stimuli and adapt to environments, humans possess the unique ability to project themselves into imagined futures. This capacity shapes everything from daily decisions to grand visions of progress. Is hope, then, the last function of consciousness, the final frontier where biology meets aspiration, where instinct merges with imagination? Without it, would we still be fully human? And yet the tension remains unresolved. Hope asks us to believe in what isn't yet visible, to trust in patterns we cannot predict, to stake our lives on possibilities that may never materialize. It demands faith, not in gods or ideologies, but in the stubborn persistence of life itself. Faith that even amidst chaos, seeds will sprout, wounds will heal, and dawn will follow dusk. Next comes a question even stranger. If probability guides the future, is it truly ours to claim? The mathematics of prediction. If probability guides the future, is it truly ours? Imagine standing at a crossroads, each path branching into countless possibilities. Weather forecasts predict rain, stock markets hint at gains or losses, election polls suggest outcomes, but none offer certainty. These predictions shape our decisions, big and small, yet they remain veiled in uncertainty. So where does agency fit into a world governed by probabilities? Are we captains steering the ship of fate, or passengers carried along by currents beyond our control? Mathematics gives us tools to navigate this labyrinth of uncertainty. It provides frameworks for quantifying chance, refining guesses, and making sense of complexity. Take Bayes' theorem, for instance, a mathematical rule that updates probabilities as new information emerges. At its heart lies an elegant logic. The more we learn, the better we can anticipate what comes next. Algorithms built on such principles guide everything from traffic patterns to medical diagnoses, promising clarity in a chaotic world. And yet, these equations often feel cold, distant, inadequate. They strip away nuance, reducing life's richness to sterile numbers. Philosophers like Karl Popper warned against determinism, arguing that human choices introduce unpredictability into even the most rigid systems. After all, no algorithm can fully capture the spontaneity of a sudden decision, the ripple effects of kindness, or the weight of emotion. Consider how deeply prediction shapes our lives. We rely on forecasts to plan vacations, invest savings, prepare for storms. Yet every forecast carries a margin of error, a reminder that the future resists being pinned down. Does trusting these predictions diminish our responsibility for shaping tomorrow? Or does acknowledging their limits empower us to embrace ambiguity, to act boldly despite uncertainty, even because of it? Here lies the paradox. Mathematics offers clarity but also reveals chaos. It teaches us to expect the unexpected, to find beauty in imperfection, to hold space for both order and disorder. Moreover, if the future is probabilistic rather than predetermined, does this make it more malleable or more daunting? On one hand, knowing that outcomes aren't fixed invites creativity, courage, freedom. If tomorrow isn't written in stone, then every choice matters. Every action becomes a brushstroke, painting the canvas of possibility. On the other hand, living amidst probabilities can feel overwhelming. How do we decide when nothing is guaranteed? How do we move forward when the horizon shifts with every step? Perhaps the answer lies not in seeking certainty, but in learning to dance with doubt, to trust ourselves even as we question the odds. There's something poetic about this tension between control and chaos. Life unfolds at the intersection of calculation and intuition, logic and longing. Think about how we use data to guide decisions, while still leaning on gut feelings, instincts, whispers of the heart. Isn't it strange how often the numbers align with what we already sense to be true? Or how sometimes they contradict our deepest hopes, forcing us to confront uncomfortable truths? Mathematics may illuminate paths, but it cannot tell us which one to take. That choice remains ours, and perhaps that's where meaning resides. And yet the reliance on prediction raises unsettling questions. What happens when biases creep into algorithms, skewing results towards certain outcomes? When forecasts fail, do we lose faith in the models or in ourselves? Can mathematics ever fully account for the messiness of human experience, the irrationality, the passions, the contradictions? Maybe the strength of math lies not in its ability to predict, but in its humility. Its admission that perfection is unattainable, that uncertainty is intrinsic to existence itself. Let's follow that thread further. If dreams feel real, what makes waking life any more valid? Dreams and the false continuum. If dreams feel real, what makes waking life any more valid? Close your eyes tonight, and you'll likely enter a realm where logic bends, time stretches, and impossible scenarios unfold as though they're ordinary. Yet when morning comes, you dismiss these experiences as just dreams. But why? What gives our waking reality its privileged status? Is it truly more real, or simply more convenient to believe so? Dreams challenge the boundaries between illusion and truth. In them, we experience emotions that pierce through us, sensations that seem tangible, and narratives that unfold with startling clarity, until consciousness returns to anchor us back in the waking world. Philosophers like René Descartes once pondered this very question, famously wondering if all of existence could be an elaborate dream. If we cannot prove beyond doubt that what we call reality isn't another layer of dreaming, then how do we distinguish one state from the other? Modern neuroscience reveals that during REM sleep, the brain generates activity patterns strikingly similar to those in waking states. This suggests that dreams are not mere nonsense, but alternate modes of perception, realms shaped by subconscious desires, fears, and memories. Far from being random noise, dreams offer glimpses into hidden corners of the mind, revealing truths we might otherwise ignore. But here lies the unsettling implication. If dreams can mimic reality so convincingly, how do we know which state is truer? Perhaps both are equally constructed, dreams by the unconscious mind, waking life by cultural conditioning and sensory input. Think about it. In waking life, we rely on shared language, societal norms, and physical laws to make sense of the world. These frameworks give coherence to experience, creating the illusion of solidity. Dreams, on the other hand, operate without such constraints, allowing the mind to roam freely across dimensions of possibility. The distinction between the two doesn't lie in their inherent validity, but in their utility. Waking life enables collective progress, shared understanding, survival. Dreams, meanwhile, offer private exploration, a space for creativity, healing, and confrontation with the self. And yet, the fluidity between these realms raises profound questions. Are we ever fully awake, or are we always dreaming in some capacity? Consider moments in waking life when reality feels surreal, when déjà vu strikes, or when coincidence seems too perfect to be random. Could these instances hint at the porous boundary between dreams and waking consciousness? Or perhaps they remind us that both states are constructions that's filtered through the lens of perception. After all, whether asleep or awake, the mind interprets stimuli, fills gaps, and creates narratives to impose order on chaos. The difference may simply be in the degree of control we exert, or believe we exert. This realization invites introspection. If dreams and waking life are equally constructed, does it diminish the value of either? Or does it elevate both, reminding us that meaning arises not from objective truth, but from engagement with experience? Dreams invite us to embrace ambiguity, to explore possibilities untethered by rules. Waking life asks us to navigate complexity, to find purpose within limits. Together they form a continuum, not false, but fluid, constantly shifting, resisting definition. Moreover, dreams remind us of the fragility of certainty. How often do we cling to the idea that waking life is solid, predictable, permanent, and yet dreams reveal how easily reality can dissolve, how quickly the familiar can morph into the strange. They teach us to tolerate uncertainty, to linger in discomfort rather than rush toward resolution. Perhaps this is their greatest gift, not answers, but questions, invitations to dwell in the liminal spaces where imagination meets awareness. So, what does this say about planning, organizing, scheduling, the ways we try to impose structure on an unpredictable world? Why do we invest so much energy in shaping outcomes when even the line between dreams and reality blurs under scrutiny? Now turn the page. Why do we plan, organize, and schedule our lives if uncertainty looms over every decision? Why do we plan? Why do we plan? Calendars crowd our desks, to-do lists scroll endlessly on our phones, milestones loom like distant peaks in a foggy landscape. These tools promise structure amid chaos, offering the illusion of control over an uncertain world. But do they truly shield us from disorder, or do they expose the fragility of our attempts to impose order on a universe that resists containment? Planning is humanity's response to unpredictability. In a world where tomorrow remains unwritten, mapping out steps toward goals provides a semblance of certainty. It reduces overwhelming tasks into manageable pieces, turning the abstract into the achievable. Psychologically, planning comforts us. It gives shape to time, transforming the formless void of what if into something tangible. Yet, philosophers like Friedrich Nietzsche cautioned against excessive reliance on plans. He argued that rigid structures stifle spontaneity and creativity, trapping us within narrow confines of expectation. Moreover, no matter how meticulously we design our schedules, randomness always finds a way to intrude. The unexpected phone call, the sudden storm, the unforeseen illness. Life refuses to be tamed by even the most detailed blueprint. Consider the emotional toll of unmet expectations. Deadlines missed, events canceled, dreams deferred. Each failure chips away at the foundation of certainty we've worked so hard to build. Planning assumes two things. First, that tomorrow will come. Second, that it will align with our intentions. When either assumption falters, frustration and despair often follow. And yet, without planning, would we drift aimlessly, unable to construct meaningful lives? Would art exist without vision, relationships without effort, progress without ambition? The paradox lies not in choosing between foresight and flexibility, but in balancing them, a dance between striving for control and surrendering to the unpredictable rhythms of existence. Perhaps what makes planning so compelling is its dual nature. It both empowers and imprisons us. On one hand, it grants power, the ability to envision possibilities, set goals, and take deliberate action. A well-crafted plan can feel like a lifeline, pulling us through uncertainty and giving purpose to our days. On the other hand, it risks becoming a cage, locking us into rigid frameworks that leave little room for deviation or surprise. Think about how often we cling to plans long after they've ceased to serve us, mistaking persistence for progress. How many opportunities have been lost because we refuse to deviate from a predetermined path? And yet, there's beauty in the act of planning itself. To plan is to hope, to believe that the future holds potential worth pursuing. Even when plans fail, the process reveals something profound about human resilience, our capacity to imagine, adapt, and begin again. Perhaps this is why we keep returning to calendars and lists, not because they guarantee success, but because they remind us of our agency, however limited it may be. They whisper promises of possibility, urging us to reach beyond the present moment. But here lies another tension. Does planning protect us from chaos or deepen our awareness of it? Every schedule disrupted, every goal unmet, reminds us of life's inherent instability. Yet rather than discouraging us, these moments can awaken a deeper understanding that growth often arises from disruption, that meaning emerges not from control, but from engagement with uncertainty. Maybe the true value of planning isn't in achieving perfection, but in teaching us to embrace imperfection, to hold space for both intention and improvisation. Moreover, planning connects us to something larger than ourselves. Whether organizing a family gathering, designing a city, or mapping a career trajectory, plans reflect shared aspirations, collective efforts to shape the world according to our values. At their best, they transcend individual ambitions, fostering collaboration and community. But even then, the question lingers. How much of what we create endures, and how much dissolves as quickly as it was built? Let's continue. If cause and effect are habits of the mind, where does change truly begin? Causality, a gentle illusion. If cause and effect are habits of the mind, where does change truly begin? Picture this. You drop a glass and it shatters. You flip a switch and the light turns on. These moments feel inevitable, governed by laws as immutable as gravity itself. But what if these connections aren't as solid as they seem? What if causality, the belief that one event naturally leads to another, is less a truth about the universe and more a construct of the human mind, a way for us to impose order on a world that often defies logic? Causality feels intuitive because it helps us navigate daily life. It gives structure to our experiences, allowing us to predict outcomes and make decisions with confidence. Drop a stone into water and ripples spread outward. Strike a match and fire ignites. These patterns appear so reliable, so consistent, that we assume they're intrinsic to reality. Yet thinkers like David Hume challenged this assumption centuries ago. He argued that causality isn't objectively observable, it's inferred through repeated associations. Just because the sun has risen every morning doesn't guarantee it will rise tomorrow. Our trust in causality reflects not an objective truth, but a deeper need for coherence, a desire to impose order on chaos. Consider how deeply this habit shapes our lives. We plan careers, nurture relationships, and build societies based on the assumption that actions lead to predictable results. And yet, history is littered with examples of intentions gone awry, plans unraveling despite meticulous preparation. Wars escalate unpredictably, economies collapse without warning, personal dreams falter against forces beyond control. If causality is an illusion, or at least a simplification, how reliable are our predictions about the future? Can we still act with purpose, knowing that outcomes might defy logic or expectation? This uncertainty invites humility. Much of what we take for granted rests on probabilities, not certainties. The ground beneath our feet feels stable, but geology reminds us that earthquakes can strike without warning. Relationships seem enduring, yet misunderstandings can fracture even the strongest bonds. Science itself operates within limits, acknowledging that theories are provisional, open to revision as new evidence emerges. Embracing this ambiguity doesn't diminish our ability to act, it enriches it, opening space for wonder. Perhaps change itself transcends linear explanations, emerging from the interplay of countless unseen factors rather than following a neat chain of cause and effect. And yet, there's something comforting about causality, isn't there? Even if it's an illusion, it provides a framework for meaning, a way to connect dots in a vast and mysterious cosmos. Without it, would we still strive, dream, create, or would we succumb to paralysis, overwhelmed by infinite possibilities? Perhaps the strength of causality lies not in its accuracy, but in its utility, a tool imperfect yet indispensable, helping us find direction amid uncertainty. Moreover, causality reveals something profound about the human condition, our relentless quest for understanding. We observe patterns, draw conclusions, and test hypotheses, not because we'll ever uncover ultimate truths, but because the process itself brings clarity. Think about how children learn, dropping objects to see what happens, experimenting with cause and effect long before they grasp its complexities. This curiosity drives progress, shaping everything from ancient myths to modern science. Even if causality is a construct, it's one we share, a lens through which we collectively view the world. But here lies the paradox. While causality offers stability, it also exposes fragility. Every action carries unintended consequences. Every decision ripples outward in ways we cannot fully anticipate. A single choice can alter trajectories, creating futures unimaginable at the outset. Does this realization empower us or terrify us? Maybe both. To embrace causality is to accept responsibility for the unknown, to step forward despite uncertainty, trusting that meaning arises not from certainty, but from engagement. A deeper mystery awaits. Is the future something we wait for, or something we actively build within our minds? The tomorrow inside the mind, is the future something we wait for, or something we build in thought? Picture yourself imagining tomorrow. Perhaps you see a productive workday, a joyful reunion, or simply the quiet rhythm of routine. Regardless of specifics, the act of envisioning shapes your relationship with time. But here's the unsettling question. Is the future already written, waiting to unfold, or does it emerge from the stories we tell ourselves? The future exists first and foremost as a mental construct. Before anything happens, we imagine possibilities, crafting narratives that guide our actions. This process is both empowering and limiting. On one hand, envisioning tomorrow motivates us to prepare, strive, and innovate. It gives purpose to effort, direction to ambition. On the other hand, these visions can become cages, confining us to narrow expectations. What if reality refuses to conform to the script we've written? Neuroscientists suggest that the brain's default mode network plays a key role here, simulating scenarios to anticipate challenges and opportunities. In essence, the future begins as a projection of the mind, a blueprint awaiting realization. But what happens when our imagined futures fail to materialize? Disappointment often follows, sometimes spiraling into disillusionment or despair. A dream deferred can feel like a betrayal, as though the universe has rejected the story we so carefully crafted. And yet, this creative power also holds immense potential. By consciously shaping our visions of tomorrow, we influence not only our own trajectories, but also the collective course of humanity. Consider how shared dreams of peace, progress, exploration have driven civilizations forward. These visions ripple outward, inspiring action and collaboration. The question remains, how responsibly do we wield this ability? Do we use it to foster hope or to perpetuate fear? Moreover, the act of envisioning the future reveals something profound about human consciousness. Unlike animals who live largely in the present, humans possess the unique capacity to project themselves into imagined timelines. This ability defines us. It fuels art, science, religion, and every form of innovation. Yet it also exposes us to suffering. To imagine is to open ourselves to longing, anxiety, and uncertainty. Every vision carries risk. The risk of failure, the weight of unmet expectations, the ache of what could have been. Still, without this imaginative leap, would life lose its richness? Would we still create, connect, dream? Think about it. The future doesn't exist outside our minds until it becomes the present. Until then, it's a fluid space of infinite possibility. Each choice we make narrows the field slightly, bringing certain outcomes closer while pushing others further away. But even within this narrowing lies freedom, the freedom to reinterpret, recalibrate, reimagine. Perhaps the true art of living lies not in predicting the future, but in engaging with its uncertainty, embracing both intention and surprise. And yet there's a paradox here. While envisioning tomorrow empowers us, it also reminds us of our limits. No matter how vividly we imagine, no matter how meticulously we plan, the future remains elusive, shaped by forces beyond our control. A sudden storm, an unexpected encounter, a chance discovery, all can derail even the most carefully laid plans. Does this diminish our agency or deepen it? Maybe the strength of envisioning lies not in guaranteeing outcomes, but in teaching us resilience, adaptability, humility. This tension between creation and limitation invites introspection. How much of your energy goes toward building tomorrow, and how much gets trapped in rigid expectations? Are you using your imagination to expand possibilities or to constrain them? Perhaps the answer lies in balance, holding space for both clarity and ambiguity, for both planning and surrender. After all, the future isn't just something we wait for. It's something we actively shape, moment by moment, thought by thought. Let's follow that thread further. Why don't we panic every night before closing our eyes, trusting blindly that we'll open them again? Why don't we panic every night? Why don't we panic every night before closing our eyes, trusting blindly that we'll open them again? It's a peculiar phenomenon, isn't it? Each evening we surrender to sleep, a state where awareness dissolves, time loses meaning, and control is relinquished. Yet most of us drift off without terror, confident that morning will come. Where does this trust originate? What allows us to step into the unknown darkness of sleep with such quiet assurance? This unspoken faith in waking up stems from habit, biology, and perhaps even existential conditioning. Our brains are wired to seek patterns and rely on repetition. Since sleep has reliably returned us to consciousness countless times, we assume it always will. Evolutionarily speaking, panicking about sleep would have been counterproductive for early humans. It would disrupt rest, hinder survival, and erode social cohesion. Trusting in tomorrow became not just a psychological coping mechanism, but a biological necessity. Philosophically, this trust reflects something deeper still, an acceptance of uncertainty. We cannot know what awaits us after each nightfall, yet we choose to believe in continuity because living otherwise would be paralyzing. To question everything, to fear every breath would render life unbearable. But consider the fragility of this trust. What happens when someone close to you fails to wake up? Or when illness, aging, or trauma interrupts the rhythm of sleep and wakefulness? These moments shatter the illusion of certainty, forcing us to confront mortality head-on. Sleep becomes less a refuge and more a reminder of impermanence. And yet, despite these risks, we continue to close our eyes each night. Is this resilience a testament to hope or to denial? Does blind trust protect us, Or does it leave us vulnerable to the harsh truths of impermanence? Perhaps the answer lies somewhere in between. Trust in sleep is both a shield and a mirror. It shields us from the overwhelming awareness of our own vulnerability, allowing us to function day by day. At the same time, it mirrors our capacity to embrace uncertainty, to live fully even amid ambiguity. Think about how children learn this lesson over time. A young child might resist bedtime, afraid of the dark or separation from loved ones. But as they grow older, they internalize the pattern. Sleep comes, and so does waking. This progression mirrors humanity's larger journey, from primal fear to cultivated calm, from chaos to order. Moreover, there's something profoundly human about this act of surrender. Sleep strips away pretense, leaving us raw and unguarded. In those hours of unconsciousness, we release control entirely, handing ourselves over to forces beyond comprehension. Dreams take us to worlds untethered by logic, revealing hidden fears, desires, and meanings. Even if we remember nothing upon waking, the experience shapes us subtly, reminding us that existence extends beyond the boundaries of wakeful awareness. Perhaps this nightly ritual connects us to something larger, a rhythm shared by all living beings, a cycle as old as life itself. And yet, here lies the paradox. While sleep feels natural and inevitable, it also exposes our fragility. Every time we close our eyes, we gamble with oblivion. There's no guarantee we'll wake up. Not really. And yet we do it anyway. Why? Because life demands movement, flow, continuation. To refuse sleep would be to reject life itself. In this sense, sleep becomes an act of courage, a quiet defiance against the void, a whisper that says, I trust enough to let go. This tension between trust and vulnerability invites introspection. How much of your daily life operates on similar assumptions? How often do you move forward based not on certainty but on faith, in yourself, in others, in the universe? Sleep teaches us that trust doesn't require guarantees. It simply requires willingness, the courage to step into the unknown again and again. Now turn the page. Who said life will pick up exactly where we left it? Who said life will pick up where we left it? When you wake each morning, don't you assume the world has remained unchanged in your absence? Your home intact, loved ones present, routines undisturbed? It's a quiet agreement we make with existence itself, that while we surrender to sleep, the universe will hold its shape. But what if life had shifted irreversibly overnight? Imagine waking to find your city transformed, relationships altered, or even your sense of self erased. This assumption of constancy is both comforting and precarious, a fragile thread tethering us to the illusion of control. The belief that life continues seamlessly while we sleep operates like an implicit contract between us and reality. Science reassures us that physical laws govern the universe consistently. The sun rises, gravity holds, atoms behave predictably. Yet human experience tells another story. Wars erupt, economies collapse, relationships dissolve, all while individuals slumber, oblivious to change until they awaken. Existence doesn't pause for anyone. It churns forward relentlessly, indifferent to our need for stability. Existentialists like Albert Camus might argue that this unpredictability underscores the absurdity of life. No matter how much we plan or predict, chaos always lurks beneath the surface. And yet, despite this uncertainty, we persist in believing that tomorrow will resemble today. Why do we cling so fiercely to this fragile promise? Perhaps it reflects a fundamental need for stability, a desire to anchor ourselves amid life's turbulence. Without the assumption of continuity, wouldn't every moment feel paralyzing? If we doubted whether the ground beneath our feet would remain solid or whether those we love would still be there when we opened our eyes, could we function at all? Trust in constancy allows us to move forward, to build lives rooted in shared expectations. At the same time, this reliance exposes our vulnerability. What happens when the promise breaks? When the job disappears, the house burns down, or the person who once anchored your world walks away? These ruptures force us to confront the impermanence we've tried so hard to ignore. Consider the emotional weight of such disruptions. Change can bring growth, renewal, but it also demands adaptation, resilience, mourning. If the world were to shift dramatically during one night's sleep, could we adapt quickly enough? Would we mourn what was lost, clinging to fragments of the past, or would we embrace the new reality, finding beauty in transformation? The tension between constancy and change defines our relationship with time, challenging us to balance expectation with openness. To live fully is to walk this razor's edge, to trust in patterns while remaining alert to their unraveling. Moreover, this interplay reveals something profound about human nature. We are creatures of habit, craving order and predictability. Yet we are also adaptable, capable of reinvention in the face of upheaval. Think about how societies evolve over generations, or how individuals rebuild after loss. Life asks us to hold space for both permanence and flux, to honor the familiar without resisting the unknown. Perhaps the strength of the sleepwalker's promise lies not in its certainty, but in its fragility, in the way it reminds us to cherish what remains while preparing for what may come. And yet, here lies the paradox. The more we trust in continuity, the more vulnerable we become to its disruption. Every act of faith in tomorrow carries the risk of disillusionment, but perhaps this risk is worth taking. Without the promise of constancy, would we dare to dream, create, connect? Would we plant seeds knowing they might never sprout, nurture relationships aware they could end, build structures conscious they may crumble? The sleepwalker's promise isn't just an illusion, it's an act of courage, a quiet defiance against entropy. Let's continue. Can time truly continue if the universe trends toward decay? Can hope persist when endings are inevitable? Perhaps the miracle is not that we sleep at all, but that we wake each day ready to begin again, unchanged in a world that never stopped moving. Entropy and the death of order. Can time truly continue if the universe trends toward decay? Picture the cosmos as a grand clockwork mechanism slowly winding down. Stars burn out, galaxies drift apart, and energy disperses into cold silence. This inevitable march toward entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, raises profound questions about the nature of time and existence itself. Is life merely a brief flicker against an infinite backdrop of dissolution? Or does meaning arise precisely because nothing lasts? Entropy describes the natural tendency of systems to move from order to disorder. In simple terms, everything eventually breaks down, fades away, or loses coherence. A sandcastle eroded by waves, a forest consumed by fire, a star collapsing into darkness, all are expressions of this universal principle. Physicists see entropy as a fundamental property of reality, governing everything from black holes to biological organisms. It's not just a physical law, it's a reminder that stability is always temporary. Philosophers like Arthur Schopenhauer viewed entropy as a metaphor for life's inherent futility, arguing that all striving ultimately leads to dissolution. Yet, paradoxically, entropy also creates room for creativity and renewal. Without decay, there would be no space for growth, innovation, or transformation. Life itself thrives in the interplay between creation and destruction, a delicate dance sustained by impermanence. Consider what this means for our understanding of time. If the universe is destined for heat death, a state where all energy is evenly distributed and motion ceases, what meaning can we assign to its passage? Time feels linear, directional, purposeful. We measure it, organize it, rely on it to structure our lives. But entropy suggests something different. That time's arrow points inexorably toward chaos. Does this render our efforts meaningless, or does it amplify their significance? Knowing that nothing lasts forever might inspire us to cherish fleeting moments more deeply, to hold loved ones closer, savor sunsets longer, embrace experiences with heightened awareness. At the same time, this knowledge forces us to grapple with impermanence, questioning whether permanence is even desirable. Would eternity bring fulfillment or stagnation? And yet there's beauty in the tension between order and disorder. Think about how civilizations rise and fall, how ecosystems regenerate after disasters, how individuals reinvent themselves after loss. Decay clears the way for renewal, creating opportunities for new forms of complexity and connection. Even human culture reflects this dynamic. Art, science, philosophy all emerge from the ruins of what came before. Perhaps entropy isn't just a force of destruction, but also one of liberation, freeing us from the illusion of permanence and inviting us to find meaning in flux. Moreover, entropy invites introspection on a personal level. Our bodies age, relationships evolve, memories fade. These changes remind us that we too are subject to the same laws that govern stars and galaxies, and yet within this inevitability lies freedom. If nothing is permanent, then every moment becomes precious. Every choice carries weight, not because it will endure, but because it won't. This realization can feel both liberating and sobering, urging us to live intentionally while accepting the transient nature of all things. But here lies the paradox. While entropy underscores impermanence, it also shapes how we experience continuity. The rhythms of day and night, seasons cycling through birth and decay, patterns repeating across generations, all reflect the interplay between order and disorder. Without entropy, these cycles wouldn't exist. They remind us that endings aren't failures, but transitions, part of a larger narrative woven into the fabric of existence. Perhaps the true challenge isn't resisting decay, but learning to flow with it, to find harmony in the ebb and flow of being. And yet, despite this acceptance, we still cling to hope. We dream of futures brighter than the present, build structures meant to outlast us, tell stories that transcend individual lifetimes. Why? Because even in the face of entropy, humans persist in seeking meaning. Maybe that's the most remarkable thing of all. Not that we're doomed to fade, but that we create light in the shadow of darkness. A deeper mystery awaits. Do we believe in tomorrow simply because today looked like yesterday? Faith in repetition. Do we believe in tomorrow because today looked like yesterday? Consider the rhythms of daily life. Sunrise follows sunset, seasons cycle through their phases, and routines repeat like clockwork. These patterns breed familiarity, lulling us into a sense of security. But is this faith in repetition justified or dangerously naive? Repetition shapes our understanding of time and reinforces our belief in continuity. From ancient agricultural societies tracking lunar cycles to modern urbanites relying on alarm clocks, humans have always sought solace in predictable patterns. Psychologically, repetition provides structure, reducing anxiety by creating a framework for action. It allows us to anticipate outcomes, plan ahead, and find meaning in consistency. Yet, over-reliance on sameness can breed complacency, blinding us to subtle shifts that accumulate over time. Thinkers like Heraclitus emphasize the opposite perspective, famously declaring, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." Life, he argued, is defined by constant flux, not stasis. The water flows, the banks erode, and even the person stepping into the river changes with each passing moment. What happens when repetition breaks down? Natural disasters disrupt ecosystems, pandemics upend social structures, and technological disruptions reshape economies, all shattering the illusion of permanence. In these moments, we're forced to confront the fluidity of existence. And yet, even amidst chaos, we often cling to remnants of routine, seeking comfort in whatever fragments remain. We light candles during power outages, tell stories to make sense of loss, or hold on to rituals as anchors against uncertainty. This tension highlights a central paradox. While repetition offers stability, it also limits our ability to adapt to change. How do we strike a balance between embracing novelty and preserving tradition? Consider how deeply repetition influences our lives. Morning coffee, evening walks, weekly meetings, these small acts create a rhythm that feels grounding, almost sacred. They remind us that despite the vastness of the universe, there are corners of predictability we can rely on. But here lies the danger. When we mistake repetition for permanence, we risk becoming rigid, resistant to growth. Change, after all, is inevitable. Relationships evolve, cities transform, technologies emerge, and clinging too tightly to what was can prevent us from fully experiencing what could be. Moreover, repetition invites reflection on its dual nature. On one hand, it gives life coherence, helping us navigate complexity without feeling overwhelmed. On the other hand, it risks dulling our awareness, making us numb to the wonder of ordinary moments. Have you ever noticed how a familiar song loses its magic until you hear it again after years of silence? Repetition has the power to both enchant and desensitize, depending on how we engage with it. Perhaps the key lies not in resisting change, but in finding beauty within it. In seeing each sunrise not as identical to the last, but as uniquely fleeting, never to be repeated. And yet, faith in repetition reveals something profound about human resilience. Even when faced with upheaval, we instinctively search for new patterns, new rhythms to restore a sense of order. This adaptability is both our strength and our vulnerability. It allows us to rebuild after loss, to innovate in the face of challenges, but it also exposes us to the ache of impermanence. Every pattern eventually breaks, every rhythm fades, leaving behind echoes of what once was. This realization invites introspection. How much of your life revolves around repetition? Which patterns bring you peace and which ones constrain you? Are you holding on to habits out of fear or because they genuinely enrich your days? Perhaps the true art of living lies in honoring repetition without being imprisoned by it, in finding freedom within structure and grace within flux. Let's follow that thread further. One day light won't return. How does that change our view of time? The death of the sun. One day light won't return. Imagine waking up, or perhaps not waking at all, to a sky devoid of sunlight, forever cloaked in darkness. Somewhere in the distant future, billions of years from now, our sun will exhaust its nuclear fuel and collapse into a cold, dim remnant. This inevitability forces us to confront the finite nature of existence, not just for humanity, but for the entire cosmos. What does it mean to live under a star destined to burn out? How do we reconcile the warmth of today's sunlight with the chill of tomorrow's cosmic silence? The death of the sun represents the ultimate expiration date for Earth's biosphere. Without the energy generated by stellar fusion, life as we know it cannot persist. Scientists estimate that in about 5 billion years, the sun will expand into a red giant, engulfing nearby planets before collapsing into a white dwarf, a faint shadow of its former self. While this event lies far beyond human timescales, contemplating it reminds us of the transient beauty of our current reality. Every beam of sunlight carries not only warmth, but also an implicit reminder: nothing lasts forever. Philosophically, the knowledge of cosmic impermanence challenges notions of eternity and purpose. If everything must end, what meaning can we assign to beginnings? Consider how deeply this realization resonates within us. On one hand, it inspires awe at the fleeting miracle of existence, the delicate balance of forces that allow stars to shine, planets to orbit, and life to flourish. Each sunrise feels more precious when viewed through the lens of eventual darkness. On the other hand, it exposes the futility of long-term ambitions when measured against the backdrop of universal decay. Civilizations rise and fall, species emerge and vanish, even galaxies drift apart over eons. Against such immensity, what significance can individual lives hold? Yet, here lies the paradox. Awareness of impermanence doesn't diminish meaning, it amplifies it. Knowing that the sun will die someday invites us to cherish every moment illuminated by its glow. It urges us to find purpose not in permanence but in presence, to create and connect despite the certainty of loss. Perhaps this is the gift of mortality. It teaches us to value what we have precisely because it won't last. Would art exist without the urgency of time? Would love feel so profound if it weren't fleeting? Moreover, the death of the sun raises questions about legacy. what we leave behind, and whether it matters. Human achievements, monuments, stories, scientific discoveries are mere blips in the grand timeline of the universe, yet they matter deeply to us, shaping how we understand ourselves and our place in the cosmos. Maybe the true measure of legacy isn't durability, but impact. The ripples we send outward, however temporary, touching others across space and time. And yet there's something humbling and strangely liberating about accepting the vastness of time beyond human comprehension. We are specks in a sprawling narrative, participants in a story too large to fully grasp. Rather than shrinking us, this perspective expands our sense of wonder. It reminds us that we are part of something greater, even if that something is destined to fade. Like stardust returning to the void, our atoms may one day contribute to new forms of creation, carrying fragments of our essence into futures unimaginable. This tension between awe and insignificance invites introspection. How does awareness of such a distant apocalypse affect how we live today? Does it inspire gratitude for small joys, a child's laughter, a shared meal, a quiet moment beneath the stars? Or does it paralyze us with existential dread? Perhaps the answer lies in embracing both perspectives, cherishing the present while acknowledging the vastness of time beyond our control. After all, meaning isn't found in permanence, but in participation, in showing up, fully alive for the brief window we're given. Now, turn the page. Are you still the same person who believed in yesterday's tomorrow? The self through time. Are you still the same person who believed in yesterday's tomorrow? Think back to your younger self, the child, the teenager, the version of you untouched by the weight of experience. How much has changed since then? Your dreams may have shifted, your values evolved, your perspective deepened, and yet, despite these transformations, you likely feel a thread of continuity connecting past, present, and future selves. What holds this fragile identity together? Identity is a paradoxical construct, simultaneously fixed and fluid. Philosophers like John Locke argued that personal identity hinges on memory, the ability to recall past experiences as belonging to oneself. Memory acts as a bridge, linking moments across time. But memories are imperfect. They fade, distort, and sometimes vanish entirely. Can we truly trust them to define us? Modern psychology offers another lens, suggesting that identity is also shaped by narratives, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and who we want to become. These narratives evolve over time, influenced by relationships, culture, and choices. Yet, even as we change, there remains a core sense of me-ness that persists, a subjective anchor amid shifting tides. Consider how deeply this paradox shapes our lives. Every decision alters us slightly, nudging us closer to one version of ourselves while leaving others behind. A single choice can ripple outward, reshaping not just our actions but our very sense of self. And yet, through all these changes, we cling to the idea of continuity. We say, "I am," with certainty, even though the I of today differs from the I of yesterday and will differ still from the I of tomorrow. This tension invites introspection. If identity is so malleable, what does it mean to say "I am"? Is the self a stable entity, or merely a collection of fleeting thoughts, emotions, and sensations? The implications are both unsettling and liberating. If you're not the same person you were yesterday, can you be held accountable for past actions? Should you judge your former self harshly for mistakes made under different circumstances, with less wisdom or awareness? Conversely, if you believe too rigidly in a static self, do you stifle growth and transformation? Identity requires balance, honoring the past without being bound by it, embracing change without losing sight of what feels essentially you. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human resilience. Despite the impermanence of individual moments, we find ways to weave them into a coherent whole. Like threads in a tapestry, each experience contributes to the larger picture of who we are. Even when life unravels parts of that fabric through loss, trauma, or failure, we mend it anew, integrating those scars into our evolving story. Perhaps the strength of identity lies not in its permanence, but in its adaptability, its capacity to grow stronger through rupture and repair. And yet, here lies the challenge, navigating the tension between continuity and change. Too much attachment to the past risks stagnation, while too much focus on reinvention risks fragmentation. How do we honor where we've been without letting it dictate where we're going? Maybe the answer isn't finding a fixed point, but learning to flow gracefully between states, to embrace the process of becoming rather than clinging to the illusion of being. This realization invites gratitude for the journey itself. Each phase of life brings its own gifts, its own lessons. Even pain becomes meaningful when viewed as part of the unfolding narrative. Without struggle, would joy feel as vivid? Without endings, would beginnings carry such promise? Identity isn't just about who we are, it's about how we move through the world, gathering fragments of experience and weaving them into something uniquely ours. Let's continue. Where does the future go when we forget to imagine it? The edge of consciousness. Where does the future go when we forget to imagine it? Try to visualize tomorrow, next year, or decades ahead. You may find certain moments vivid while others blur into abstraction. Our capacity to envision the future is limited, shaped by attention, emotion, and imagination. But what happens to those futures we neglect to dream of? Do they disappear entirely, or do they linger somewhere in the recesses of possibility, waiting for us to rediscover them, or abandon them forever? Imagination is the engine that propels us toward the future, allowing us to anticipate outcomes, plan actions, and create meaning. Neuroscientists suggest that envisioning the future activates many of the same brain regions involved in recalling the past, indicating a close link between memory and foresight. This connection makes sense. How can we imagine what lies ahead without drawing on fragments of what has already been? Yet, imagination has boundaries. It's constrained by experience, bias, and cognitive load. When we fail to imagine a particular future, whether due to distraction, fear, or apathy, it retreats into the shadows, waiting to resurface or dissolve altogether. Existential thinkers like Martin Heidegger describe this dynamic as part of our temporal existence. We project ourselves forward while remaining anchored in the present. We are beings who dream, yet our dreams are tethered to the immediacy of now. What responsibilities come with this act of imagining, or failing to imagine? By neglecting to envision certain futures, do we inadvertently shape them through omission? Consider the societal implications: communities ignored, crises overlooked, possibilities left unexplored. A world unimagined is a world unmade, its potential extinguished before it ever had a chance to emerge. And yet, overloading the mind with endless projections can lead to paralysis or despair. Too many imagined futures fragment our focus, scattering energy across paths we cannot possibly walk simultaneously. Balancing imagination with presence requires discernment, choosing which futures deserve attention and which ones should remain dormant, like seeds buried deep in soil, awaiting their moment to sprout. Imagination is the engine that propels us toward the future, allowing us to anticipate outcomes, plan actions, and create meaning. Neuroscientists suggest that envisioning the future activates many of the same brain regions involved in recalling the past, indicating a close link between memory and foresight. This connection makes sense. How can we imagine what lies ahead without drawing on fragments of what has already been? Yet, imagination has boundaries. It's constrained by experience, bias, and cognitive load. When we fail to imagine a particular future, whether due to distraction, fear, or apathy, it retreats into the shadows, waiting to resurface or dissolve altogether. Existential thinkers like Martin Heidegger describe this dynamic as part of our temporal existence. We project ourselves forward while remaining anchored in the present. We are beings who dream, yet our dreams are tethered to the immediacy of now. What responsibilities come with this act of imagining or failing to imagine? By neglecting to envision certain futures, do we inadvertently shape them through omission? Consider the societal implications: communities ignored, crises overlooked, possibilities left unexplored. A world unimagined is a world unmade, its potential extinguished before it ever had a chance to emerge. And yet, overloading the mind with endless projections can lead to paralysis or despair. Too many imagined futures fragment our focus, scattering energy across paths we cannot possibly walk simultaneously. Balancing imagination with presence requires discernment, choosing which futures deserve attention and which ones should remain dormant, like seeds buried deep in soil, awaiting their moment to sprout. Moreover, this tension reveals something profound about human consciousness. To imagine is to step beyond the confines of the present, to reach into the unknown. It's an act of courage, even defiance, a refusal to accept that reality ends where sight falters. And yet imagination is also fragile, easily swayed by fear or fatigue. Think about how often anxiety distorts our visions of tomorrow, turning hopeful horizons into stormy seas. Or how apathy dulls our ability to see beyond the immediate, shrinking the scope of possibility until only survival remains. Imagination asks us to hold space for both clarity and uncertainty, to embrace the interplay between light and shadow. And yet, here lies the paradox. The same tool that empowers us to transcend the present also binds us to it. Without the grounding of now, our imaginings would drift aimlessly, untethered from context or consequence. Every future we envision carries traces of today: the people we love, the challenges we face, the values we hold dear. Perhaps this is why neglected futures feel so haunting. They represent not just missed opportunities, but forgotten parts of ourselves, pieces of who we are that never found expression. This realization invites introspection. How much of your imagination is spent on trivialities, and how much on meaningful pursuits? Are you shaping your future consciously, or letting it be shaped by default? Maybe the true art of living lies in balancing projection with presence, in dreaming boldly while staying rooted in the richness of the moment. After all, the future doesn't exist until we bring it into being through thought, choice, and action. A deeper mystery awaits. Who wrote the line from birth to death? Living on a timeline we didn't draw. Who wrote the line from birth to death? Picture your life as a timeline stretching across history, an arc beginning with your first breath and ending with your last. Yet, you didn't choose this trajectory. It was handed to you by biology, circumstance, and chance. What does it mean to live within constraints you didn't design? Life unfolds along a path largely determined by forces beyond individual control. Genetics dictate physical traits, upbringing shapes values, and historical context influences opportunities. You were born into a specific time and place, inheriting not just DNA, but also cultural narratives, societal expectations, and economic realities. Philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre emphasize the freedom inherent in recognizing this lack of authorship. We are condemned to be free, tasked with giving meaning to lives thrust upon us. Even so, the illusion of control persists. Cultural myths of self-determination whisper promises of reinvention. You can be anything you want. And yet, no matter how hard we try to rewrite portions of our timelines, we remain tethered to broader structures, family legacies, social systems, mortality itself. Consider the emotional weight of this realization. Does awareness of this imposed timeline liberate us or bind us further? On one hand, accepting limitations can foster humility and gratitude. When we recognize that much of what we have wasn't earned solely through effort, good health, supportive relationships, access to resources, we learn to cherish these gifts more deeply. Gratitude becomes a way of honoring the unchosen elements of our existence, finding beauty in the interplay between fate and agency. On the other hand, resisting predetermined arcs fuels creativity, rebellion, and reinvention. Artists defy convention, activists challenge injustice, individuals reshape their identities, all acts of defiance against the script they inherited. The tension lies in balancing acceptance with ambition, honoring the given while striving for the possible. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human resilience. Despite the constraints of biology and circumstance, we possess an extraordinary capacity to reinterpret our trajectories. A single moment, a conversation, a failure, a chance encounter can shift the entire narrative. Think about how people transform adversity into purpose. Survivors turning pain into advocacy, immigrants building new lives from displacement, dreamers crafting futures out of fragments. Perhaps the strength of humanity lies not in escaping the timeline, but in reimagining its meaning. Even if we didn't draw the line, we decide how to walk it, with grace, courage, or resistance. And yet, here lies the paradox. The same forces that constrain us also connect us. Our shared biology, history, and mortality create threads linking every human life. These ties remind us that we're never truly alone on our timelines. Every act of kindness ripples outward. Every choice shapes collective possibility. Maybe the question isn't whether we're bound by external forces, but how we use those connections to expand our sense of self. After all, living authentically doesn't mean rejecting the timeline. It means embracing both its structure and its openness. This realization invites introspection. How much of your life feels authored by you, and how much feels imposed? Are there parts of your story you've neglected to claim, or aspects you've resisted too fiercely? Perhaps the art of living lies in finding harmony between surrender and assertion, between receiving and creating. To honor the arc without being confined by it, to make peace with its inevitabilities while seeking moments of transcendence. Let's follow that thread further. If light from the stars takes years to reach us, are we always living in the past? Do we exist in delay? If light from the stars takes years to reach us, are we always living in the past? Consider this. When you gaze at the night sky, you're not seeing the universe as it is right now, but as it was moments, decades, or even millennia ago. Light travels at a finite speed, meaning everything we perceive, whether celestial bodies or everyday objects, is delayed by time. Are we then perpetually out of sync with the present? The delay between events and their perception is an inherent feature of reality. Even on Earth, sensory information reaches your brain milliseconds after it occurs, due to neural processing speeds. On cosmic scales, these delays stretch into vast expanses of time. For instance, the starlight illuminating your backyard tonight began its journey long before humanity existed. Philosophically, this raises profound questions about the nature of now. If all perception involves lag, does true presence exist, or is every moment already tinged with history? Thinkers like Henry Bergson grappled with similar ideas, arguing that real duration transcends measurable intervals. He suggested that lived experience flows continuously, blending memory and anticipation in ways that defy rigid divisions of past, present, and future. What does it mean to live in a delayed reality? Does this knowledge deepen our connection to the cosmos, reminding us of our place within its grandeur? Or does it alienate us, highlighting the impossibility of fully inhabiting the present? Gazing upward at the stars, we confront both awe and insignificance. The same light that inspires wonder also underscores our temporal dislocation. We see fragments of a story written eons ago, piecing together a narrative we can never witness whole. Yet perhaps this distance isn't just a barrier. It's also a bridge. Knowing that starlight carries ancient stories invites us to participate in something greater, linking our fleeting lives to the eternal dance of matter and energy. Moreover, this awareness complicates notions of cause and effect. Every decision we make unfolds within layers of temporal separation. When you speak, the sound waves take time to reach another person's ears. When you act, consequences ripple outward across seconds, days, or lifetimes. How do we reconcile action with consequence when existence itself operates on such lags? This realization invites humility, a recognition that life unfolds across dimensions far vaster than immediate experience. It challenges us to embrace uncertainty, to find meaning not in control but in participation. And yet, here lies the paradox. While delay distances us from the present, it also enriches our understanding of time. Without these gaps, would we appreciate the fleeting beauty of now? Would we cherish sunsets, knowing they weren't echoes of light born millions of years ago? Delay reminds us that existence is layered, textured, a symphony of overlapping moments, rather than a single note struck in isolation. Perhaps the essence of being lies not in escaping delay, but in learning to harmonize with it, finding rhythm within its cadence. This realization invites introspection. How often do you feel disconnected from the present, caught between memories of the past and anticipations of the future? Is this disconnection a flaw or a feature of consciousness itself? Maybe the task isn't to eliminate delay, but to integrate it, to let it shape how we move through the world. After all, every heartbeat, every breath, every thought carries traces of what came before, weaving the fabric of who we are. Now, turn the page. Does waiting shape the thing we wait for? The paradox of expectation. Does waiting shape the thing we wait for? Picture yourself anticipating a milestone, a promotion, a reunion, a dream fulfilled. As days pass, anticipation grows, coloring your emotions and actions. But here's the paradox. The act of waiting transforms not only your state of mind, but also the very outcome you await. How much control do expectations exert over reality? Expectations are powerful forces shaping how we interpret events and interact with the world. Psychologically, they influence perception. What we anticipate often determines what we notice. For instance, if you expect kindness from someone, you may overlook their flaws, or conversely, if you brace for disappointment, even small gestures might feel inadequate. Philosophers like Heidegger explored this dynamic, suggesting that human existence is fundamentally future-oriented. We project ourselves toward possibilities and live in relation to them. Yet, this forward focus carries risks. Over-expectation can lead to disappointment when outcomes fall short, while under-expectation might breed complacency, dulling our capacity for wonder or ambition. Moreover, waiting itself becomes part of the narrative, altering the significance of eventual outcomes. A long-awaited moment may lose its luster simply because it arrived too late, or gain depth precisely because it was hard-earned. Consider how deeply expectation permeates every aspect of life. In relationships, we often imagine ideal versions of others, projecting hopes onto them until reality intervenes. In creativity, envisioning specific results can guide effort, but also stifle spontaneity, leaving little room for serendipity. Ambition thrives on expectation, yet it can become its own trap, chasing goals so fervently that we miss the beauty of detours along the way. The emotional weight of prolonged waiting is undeniable. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, as the saying goes, yet patience often yields unexpected rewards. This tension invites introspection. By clinging to certain visions of the future, do we limit potential surprises or enhance clarity and purpose? Consider how deeply expectation permeates every aspect of life. In relationships, we often imagine ideal versions of others, projecting hopes onto them until reality intervenes. In creativity, envisioning specific results can guide effort, but also stifle spontaneity, leaving little room for serendipity. Ambition thrives on expectation, yet it can become its own trap, chasing goals so fervently that we miss the beauty of detours along the way. The emotional weight of prolonged waiting is undeniable. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, as the saying goes, yet patience often yields unexpected rewards. This tension invites introspection. By clinging to certain visions of the future, do we limit potential surprises or enhance clarity and purpose? Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human resilience. Despite the risks of expectation, we persist in imagining futures worth striving for. Why? Because without vision, life feels aimless. Without anticipation, moments lack texture. Think about how artists sketch outlines before painting, how architects draft blueprints before building. Expectations provide frameworks, scaffolding that supports growth, but they must remain flexible enough to adapt to unforeseen shifts. Perhaps the strength of expectation lies not in dictating outcomes, but in guiding inquiry, inviting us to engage deeply with whatever arises. And yet, here lies the challenge: balancing vision with openness. Too rigid an expectation blinds us to alternative paths, while too little structure leaves us adrift. Striking this balance requires cultivating a mindset of curiosity rather than control. Instead of demanding specific results, we can learn to embrace uncertainty, to find meaning not just in fulfillment, but in the process of becoming. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Maybe the true art of living lies in holding space for both, letting expectations guide without constraining. This realization invites gratitude for the interplay between hope and reality. Every expectation carries echoes of who we are and who we aspire to be. Even when outcomes disappoint, the act of envisioning shapes us, teaching lessons in humility, patience, and resilience. Perhaps disappointment isn't failure, it's redirection, nudging us toward new possibilities we hadn't considered. By embracing this fluidity, we transform waiting from a source of anxiety into an opportunity for growth. Let's continue. Why do we fear losing time more than we fear losing ourselves? Chronophobia, the fear of time. Why do we fear losing time more than we fear losing ourselves? Imagine standing at the edge of a precipice, staring into the abyss, not of death, but of wasted hours, missed opportunities, and unfulfilled dreams. The anxiety of time slipping away gnaws at us relentlessly, often overshadowing deeper fears about identity, purpose, or mortality. Why does chronophobia, the fear of time, loom so large in the human psyche? Time is both a resource and a reminder of finitude. Unlike material possessions, once lost, time cannot be reclaimed. This scarcity breeds urgency, driving us to maximize productivity and minimize idleness. We fill our calendars, chase deadlines, and measure success by how efficiently we use every moment. Yet, paradoxically, this obsession can backfire, leading to burnout, regret, or even existential crisis. Existentialists like Søren Kierkegaard argued that anxiety about time stems from confronting freedom, the realization that each moment presents infinite choices, yet none guarantees fulfillment. Modern psychology echoes this insight, linking chronophobia to stress, perfectionism, and societal pressures. In a world obsessed with optimization, we've turned time into both an ally and an adversary. What happens when fear of losing time eclipses authentic living? Do we sacrifice depth for efficiency, presence for productivity? Think about it. How often have you rushed through experiences, ticking them off as if they were tasks on a checklist rather than moments to savor? A vacation becomes a race to capture Instagram-worthy photos. A conversation devolves into glances at the clock. Ironically, obsessing over time management can rob life of spontaneity and joy. When every second is accounted for, where is the space for wonder, for serendipity, for simply being? And yet, ignoring time's limitations carries its own risks. Without some structure, we risk drifting aimlessly, surrendering to inertia instead of embracing possibility. Life demands a delicate balance, a rhythm between action and stillness, planning and improvisation. Perhaps the challenge lies not in controlling time, but in learning to coexist with it. Instead of fighting its flow, we might find ways to harmonize with it, letting go of the need to dominate every moment. Moreover, this tension reveals something profound about human nature. Our fear of losing time isn't just about scarcity. It's also about meaning. We want assurance that our days matter, that they add up to something greater than their sum. But what defines greater? Is it achievement, connection, growth, or something else entirely? Chronophobia forces us to confront these questions, urging us to examine how we assign value to fleeting instants. Maybe the answer lies not in maximizing time, but in cultivating presence, in learning to see beauty in impermanence. Consider the emotional weight of this realization. Every tick of the clock carries echoes of potential, the book unwritten, the apology unsaid, the sunset unseen. And yet, clinging too tightly to these possibilities can paralyze us, leaving us trapped in cycles of guilt or longing. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means embracing uncertainty, trusting that meaning emerges not from control, but from engagement. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, finding grace amid imperfection. This awareness invites gratitude for the moments we inhabit fully, however brief, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on time transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our fear of losing time, we begin to reclaim it, not as a commodity to hoard, but as a gift to cherish. A deeper mystery awaits. Did we invent time, or just measure our fears? Calendars and other sacred lies. Did we invent time, or just measure our fears? Calendars hang on walls, clocks tick steadily, and schedules dictate daily rhythms. These tools provide structure, yet they also impose artificial boundaries on an otherwise fluid continuum. Is time a universal truth, or merely a construct designed to soothe our anxieties? Timekeeping has ancient roots, originating from humanity's need to track cycles, seasons, tides, lunar phases. Early civilizations created calendars to align agricultural practices with natural patterns. The Egyptians mapped the Nile's flooding, the Mayans charted celestial movements. Over millennia, these systems evolved into precise measurements of seconds, minutes, and hours. Today, atomic clocks divide time into fractions so small they defy comprehension. Yet, for all its precision, measured time remains a human invention, a way to impose order on chaos. Philosophers like Henri Bergson distinguish between temps, measured time, and durée, lived experience, emphasizing that quantified time fails to capture subjective flow. A moment felt in grief stretches endlessly, while joy compresses hours into fleeting sparks. In essence, calendars and clocks serve as frameworks for organizing collectivity, but they also constrain individual perception. Consider how deeply these constructs shape our lives. Without them, how would we coordinate work, celebrate holidays, or plan futures? They bring clarity, yes, but at what cost? By dividing time into discrete units, do we fragment existence unnecessarily? Does adherence to schedules stifle creativity, spontaneity, and connection? Think about how often you've rushed through experiences, ticking them off as if they were tasks on a checklist rather than moments to savor. A vacation becomes a race to capture Instagram-worthy photos. A conversation devolves into glances at the clock. Ironically, the very tools meant to enhance efficiency can rob life of depth and presence. And yet, abandoning structured time carries its own risks. Imagine a world without calendars or clocks, a society adrift in unmarked days, where shared meaning dissolves into chaos. Rituals lose their rhythm, appointments vanish, and collaboration falters. This tension highlights a central paradox. While measurement brings order, it also distorts authenticity. Perhaps the solution lies not in rejecting timekeeping, but in using it wisely, honoring its utility while resisting its tyranny. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Maybe the art of living lies in holding space for both, finding grace amid imperfection. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human nature. Our obsession with measuring time reflects more than practical necessity. It mirrors our longing for control. Faced with mortality, we seek reassurance in numbers, believing that quantification will shield us from uncertainty. But time cannot be tamed. No matter how finely we slice it, the river flows beyond our grasp. Clocks may tick, but they cannot hold back the tide. This awareness invites humility, a recognition that life exists not within grids and increments, but in the spaces between. Consider the emotional weight of this realization. Every calendar page turn carries echoes of potential, the year ahead filled with promise, the past year fading into memory. And yet, clinging too tightly to these divisions can paralyze us, leaving us trapped in cycles of guilt or longing. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning ambition. It means embracing uncertainty, trusting that meaning emerges not from control, but from engagement. After all, the most profound moments often arise when we step outside the framework entirely, watching a sunset stretch beyond scheduled minutes, losing ourselves in laughter that defies hourly bounds. This awareness invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on time transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our fear of losing time, we begin to reclaim it, not as a commodity to hoard, but as a gift to cherish. Let's follow that thread further. What would animals call the future if they believed in one? Is tomorrow a human invention? What would animals call the future if they believed in one? Humans are uniquely obsessed with tomorrow, constantly planning, predicting, and projecting. But step into the wild, where instincts rule and survival depends on the present moment, and you'll find little evidence of such preoccupation. Is tomorrow purely a human construct, an invention born from our complex brains and restless imaginations? The concept of tomorrow is deeply tied to abstraction, the ability to envision possibilities beyond immediate experience. Animals live primarily in the now, guided by instinct and environmental cues, while some species exhibit rudimentary planning behaviors, like squirrels storing nuts for winter or birds migrating seasonally. These actions lack the deliberate foresight that defines human anticipation. These creatures act not out of conscious prediction, but in response to innate drives shaped by evolution. Philosophers like Aristotle noted humanity's unique capacity for rational thought, which enables us to transcend instinct and imagine alternate realities. Yet this gift comes at a cost: anxiety about what lies ahead, fear of uncertainty, and an insatiable hunger for control. Tomorrow becomes both a beacon of hope and a source of dread, a projection of dreams and fears onto an unknowable horizon. If tomorrow is indeed a human invention, does it enrich or burden existence? On one hand, imagining the future allows us to innovate, build civilizations, and dream of better worlds. Without the ability to plan, we wouldn't have cities, technology, or art. The notion of progress itself hinges on our capacity to envision something beyond the present. On the other hand, this forward focus traps us in cycles of worry, comparison, and dissatisfaction. We obsess over timelines, deadlines, and milestones, often losing sight of the beauty right in front of us. Consider how different life might feel without this constant gaze toward the horizon. Freer, perhaps, but also less purposeful. Would we still create art, pursue goals, or form lasting bonds if we lived entirely in the present? Or would meaning dissolve along with structure? Our relationship with tomorrow reflects a delicate balance between creativity and constraint. By projecting ourselves into the future, we shape our identities, crafting narratives of who we want to be and what we hope to achieve. Yet, these projections can also imprison us, setting unrealistic expectations and fueling disappointment when reality doesn't align with vision. Perhaps the challenge lies not in abandoning tomorrow, but in holding it lightly, engaging with its possibilities without becoming consumed by them. And yet here lies the paradox. Tomorrow is both liberating and limiting. It inspires action while fostering anxiety, offering clarity while obscuring the present. Think about how often you've postponed joy, telling yourself, "I'll be happy when," only to realize later that happiness was available all along, hidden beneath layers of anticipation. This tension invites introspection. Do we chase tomorrow because it fulfills us, or because it distracts us from confronting today? Consider the emotional weight of this realization. Every plan, every goal, every dream carries echoes of tomorrow's promise and its peril. Do we use these visions to guide us toward growth, or do they keep us tethered to illusions of control? Maybe the answer isn't choosing between presence and progress, but learning to weave them together, finding meaning in both the journey and the destination. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. Now, turn the page. Why does the word tomorrow calm us like a lullaby? The psychology of promise. Why does the word tomorrow calm us like a lullaby? Whisper it softly and watch as shoulders relax, breaths deepen, and minds drift toward hope. Tomorrow promises renewal, a chance to start over, fix mistakes, and chase dreams. But why does this simple syllable carry such soothing power? Tomorrow operates as both a linguistic tool and a psychological balm. Linguistically, it encapsulates possibility, offering a clean slate unburdened by today's failures. It's a placeholder for potential, a blank canvas waiting to be painted with intentions and aspirations. Psychologically, it taps into our innate optimism bias, the tendency to believe that things will improve over time. Evolutionarily, this mindset likely served a survival function, motivating early humans to persevere despite adversity. After all, if they had given up at the first sign of hardship, humanity might not have survived the Ice Age, let alone built civilizations. Modern psychology reinforces this idea, showing that hope acts as a buffer against despair, helping individuals cope with stress and trauma. Even when circumstances seem dire, the promise of tomorrow keeps despair at bay. But what happens when tomorrow fails to deliver on its promises? Repeated disappointments can erode trust, leading to cynicism or apathy. Think about how often we've told ourselves, things will get better, only to find the same struggles awaiting us the next day. When tomorrow becomes a broken record instead of a fresh start, it loses its magic. This tension invites introspection. Do we cling to the promise of tomorrow because it genuinely comforts us, or because it distracts us from confronting today? By deferring joy indefinitely, are we sacrificing presence for perpetuity? Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human resilience. Our ability to imagine tomorrow allows us to endure hardship, but it also shapes how we experience the present. Consider how different life might feel without this forward focus. Freer, perhaps, but also less purposeful. Would we still pursue goals, create art, or form lasting bonds if we lived entirely in the moment? Or would meaning dissolve along with structure? The tension between these states invites reflection on what truly matters, progress or presence. And yet, here lies the paradox. Tomorrow is both liberating and limiting. It inspires action while fostering anxiety, offering clarity while obscuring the present. Think about how often you've postponed joy, telling yourself, "I'll be happy when," only to realize later that happiness was available all along, hidden beneath layers of anticipation. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on tomorrow transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. This awareness invites balance. Instead of placing blind faith in tomorrow, we can learn to hold it lightly, engaging with its possibilities without becoming consumed by them. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. Let's continue. Do we create routines just to simulate permanence? The anxiety of the unknown. Do we create routines just to simulate permanence? From morning coffee rituals to nightly bedtime routines, structure provides comfort in an unpredictable world. But beneath these habits lies a deeper truth. We crave stability because uncertainty terrifies us. Are routines shields against chaos, or illusions masking fragility? Routines serve multiple purposes. They conserve mental energy, reduce decision fatigue, and establish a sense of control. Predictability becomes a refuge, a way to impose order on the randomness of existence. Psychologically, this makes perfect sense. Our brains are wired to seek patterns, to find meaning in repetition. When life feels chaotic, even the smallest rituals, a cup of tea at sunrise, a walk after dinner, can restore equilibrium. Yet philosophically, routines reveal humanity's uneasy relationship with impermanence. Thinkers like Nietzsche argued that embracing flux is essential for authentic living, yet most of us resist change, clinging to familiar patterns as if they were lifelines. Routines act as anchors, grounding us amidst shifting tides, but they also risk becoming prisons, stifling growth and spontaneity. Consider how deeply routines shape our lives. They offer a framework for navigating days, weeks, years. Without them, simple tasks might feel overwhelming, decisions paralyzing, and yet there's something fragile about relying too heavily on structure. What happens when routines are disrupted? Natural disasters upend homes, pandemics unravel daily rhythms, personal upheavals shatter carefully constructed schedules. In those moments, we're forced to confront the raw unpredictability of life. Disorientation sets in, anxiety spikes, but sometimes so does transformation. Breaking free from routine can spark new ways of seeing, being, experiencing. This duality underscores a central paradox. While routines simulate permanence, they simultaneously remind us of life's inherent instability. Moreover, this tension reveals something profound about human resilience. Our need for structure reflects not just fear, but also hope, a desire to carve out pockets of certainty within an uncertain universe. Even as we build walls against chaos, we know deep down that nothing lasts forever. Perhaps the magic of routines lies not in their permanence, but in their adaptability. A morning ritual doesn't have to be rigid. It can evolve over time, accommodating new circumstances without losing its essence. Flexibility allows us to honor structure while remaining open to change, to find balance between stability and spontaneity. And yet here lies the challenge. How do we embrace uncertainty without letting it overwhelm us? Uncertainty is both a threat and a gift. It keeps us humble, reminding us that no plan is foolproof, no future guaranteed. At the same time, it invites curiosity, urging us to explore possibilities beyond what we already know. Maybe the key isn't eliminating uncertainty, but learning to dance with it, to hold space for both chaos and calm, trusting that life will unfold as it must. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on routines transforms them, turning what could feel restrictive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on structure, we begin to reclaim it, not as a shield against chaos, but as a foundation for growth. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. The future in a child's mind. How does someone who has lived so little already believe in forever? Watch a child gaze at the stars, marveling at their brilliance, convinced they'll shine eternally. Children inhabit a realm of boundless imagination, where time stretches infinitely and anything seems possible. Where does this belief in endlessness come from, and why does it fade as we grow older? Children's perception of time differs radically from adults. To them, days stretch endlessly, summers last lifetimes, and the future feels limitless. This expansive view stems partly from limited experience. Lacking memories of endings, children assume continuity. A sunset isn't just an ending, it's a promise of sunrise. Developmental psychologists suggest that abstract thinking, the ability to grasp concepts like mortality, emerges gradually during adolescence. Until then, the world exists in a perpetual now, unburdened by the weight of finality. Meanwhile, cultural narratives reinforce notions of eternity, whether through fairy tales with happily ever afters, religious teachings promising afterlives, or heroic stories defying death. For children, forever isn't just a concept, it's a felt reality. Consider how deeply this innocence shapes their lives. Without the burden of knowing what can't be, children dream boldly. They imagine themselves as astronauts, artists, explorers, all without questioning if such futures are possible. Their belief in endlessness fuels curiosity and courage, propelling them toward discovery. And yet, something shifts as they age. Awareness of finitude creeps in, tempering imagination with practical concerns. Deadlines replace daydreams, responsibilities overshadow wonder. Adulthood brings wisdom, but also disillusionment. The infinite horizon shrinks into measurable spans, hours, years, lifetimes. And yet, here lies the paradox. While awareness of limits grounds us, it also diminishes something precious: the unbridled optimism that once fueled our boldest dreams. Think about how often you've hesitated to pursue a goal, telling yourself, "It's too late," or "I'm not good enough." These thoughts reflect not just realism, but also resignation, a surrender to boundaries that may exist more in mind than matter. Perhaps reclaiming a bit of this childlike faith could reinvigorate adult lives, reminding us to dream boldly, even as we confront limitations. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Maybe the art of living lies in holding space for both, to honor the finite while embracing the infinite within ourselves. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human nature. Our capacity to imagine forever, even if illusory, is itself a form of transcendence. It allows us to rise above the immediacy of now, envisioning possibilities beyond the present. Even as we lose the child's literal belief in endlessness, we retain its essence in acts of creation, writing books, building legacies, forming connections. Forever lives on in the imprints we leave behind, however fleeting they may seem. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on forever transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. Let's follow that thread further. Is saying "see you tomorrow" an act of faith, habit, or denial? Why do we say "see you tomorrow"? Is saying "see you tomorrow" an act of faith, habit, or denial? These four simple words carry profound weight, promising continuity in a world defined by uncertainty. Whether spoken casually or earnestly, they reflect our deep-seated need to believe that life will proceed as expected and that those we care about will remain part of it. The phrase "see you tomorrow" operates on multiple levels. On the surface, it's a polite convention, a way to conclude interactions with warmth and optimism. It softens goodbyes, leaving room for hope rather than finality. Beneath this veneer, however, lies a tacit agreement. Both parties acknowledge the possibility of another meeting, reinforcing social bonds and mutual trust. This shared understanding becomes a small but significant act of faith, not just in one another, but in the future itself. Philosophically, this exchange embodies humanity's complex relationship with time. By uttering these words, we affirm belief in patterns, rhythms, and routines, even as we silently confront their fragility. After all, every farewell carries the unspoken risk that tomorrow may never come. What does it mean to say "see you tomorrow" when faced with impermanence? Does it demonstrate resilience or naivety? For some, these words might serve as a coping mechanism, softening the harsh edges of reality by focusing on hopeful outcomes. A parent tucking in a child whispers it like a lullaby. Friends parting ways repeat it like a mantra. In moments of uncertainty, such phrases become anchors, grounding us in the illusion of control. For others, saying "see you tomorrow" could represent a deliberate choice to prioritize connection over fear, to lean into trust despite knowing nothing is guaranteed. Either way, the ritual underscores a universal truth. Humans crave reassurance, especially when navigating the unknown. And yet, here lies the paradox. While these words offer comfort, they also expose vulnerability. To say "see you tomorrow" is to admit dependence, not just on others, but on the fragile structures that sustain us: health, safety, time itself. Consider how often we use similar expressions without fully acknowledging their implications. Talk soon, until next time, catch you later. Each carries the same quiet promise, the same silent gamble. Life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, to honor the finite while embracing the infinite within ourselves. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human nature. Our capacity to imagine tomorrow, even if uncertain, is itself a form of transcendence. It allows us to rise above the immediacy of now, envisioning possibilities beyond the present. Even as we lose the childlike literal belief in endlessness, we retain its essence in acts of creation, forming connections, building legacies, leaving imprints however fleeting they may seem. Tomorrow lives on in the promises we make and keep, however small. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on tomorrow transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. Now, turn the page. Have you ever felt a day that didn't start? The morning that never came. Have you ever felt a day that didn't start? Imagine waking up, or trying to, and finding the world suspended, frozen in limbo. No sunrise pierces the horizon, no clock ticks forward, no routine begins. This eerie sensation isn't just fiction. It mirrors moments when life feels stagnant, devoid of momentum or purpose. What happens when time seems to stall? The feeling of a day that doesn't start often arises during periods of emotional paralysis, grief, depression, burnout. Time loses its usual markers, blurring into an endless now. Days stretch without distinction, each moment indistinguishable from the last. Philosophers like Maurice Merleau-Ponty explored how perception shapes experience, suggesting that without external stimuli, time can feel distorted or absent altogether. Without the rhythm of daily rituals, the morning coffee, the commute, the evening wind down, time becomes untethered, slipping through our fingers like water. Psychologically, this phenomenon highlights the interplay between internal states and temporal awareness. When energy falters, so does the ability to engage with the rhythm of daily life. The result is a kind of temporal vertigo, where past, present, and future collapse into indistinct haze. What lessons can be drawn from days that refuse to begin? Perhaps they reveal the fragility of routines, exposing how dependent we are on structure to maintain equilibrium. Routines act as anchors, grounding us amidst shifting tides. But when those anchors fail, we're left adrift. Yet these moments also offer profound insights. They remind us that time isn't merely linear, but cyclical, sometimes pausing to allow reflection or healing. Think about how nature operates. Seasons ebb and flow, plants go dormant before blooming again. Could it be that human lives follow similar rhythms? While unsettling, such pauses might carry hidden gifts, an invitation to rest, recalibrate, and rediscover meaning beyond productivity. The challenge lies in embracing stillness without succumbing to despair. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human resilience. Our capacity to endure stagnation reflects not just vulnerability, but also strength. Even in the absence of progress, we persist. Consider how often you've faced days that felt unmovable, yet somehow found your way back to motion. These moments teach us patience, not just with the world around us, but with ourselves. They remind us that life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, to honor the finite while embracing the infinite within ourselves. And yet, here lies the paradox. While stillness offers clarity, it also risks entrapment. Prolonged inertia can breed doubt, fear, even regret. How do we navigate this tension? Maybe the answer isn't eliminating stagnation, but learning to dance with it, to hold space for uncertainty while trusting that movement will return. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on stillness transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on momentum, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. Let's continue. If we die tonight, what happens to our unfinished thoughts? Death and the promise of later. If we die tonight, what happens to our unfinished thoughts? Close your eyes and consider the projects left incomplete, the words unsaid, the dreams unfulfilled. Mortality casts a shadow over everything, reminding us that life's promises are contingent upon breath. How do we reconcile ambition with the inevitability of endings? Death interrupts narratives, leaving stories untold and questions unanswered. It doesn't wait for resolutions or neatly tied bows. It arrives abruptly, often without warning, cutting short the arcs we've been weaving since birth. Philosophers like Martin Heidegger argued that awareness of mortality gives urgency to existence, urging us to live authentically. To confront death is to confront meaning itself, to ask not just what we're doing, but why. Yet this awareness also breeds anxiety, particularly regarding legacy. What becomes of the ideas we nurture, the relationships we build, the contributions we strive to make? Culturally, humans have developed rituals and beliefs, religions, memorials, art, as ways to cope with this tension. These frameworks provide comfort, yet the personal confrontation with death remains deeply individual, shaped by values, fears, and hopes. Does contemplating death diminish motivation or amplify it? For some, the specter of mortality can feel paralyzing, casting doubt on the worth of effort in a fleeting world. If nothing lasts, why bother at all? Others find motivation precisely in this impermanence, driven by a desire to leave something behind, a mark however small on the vast canvas of existence. Consider how often creativity blooms from the shadow of loss. Poets writing against silence, painters racing against time, inventors striving to solve problems before their hourglass runs out. Both perspectives acknowledge a fundamental paradox. Life's brevity makes endeavors precious, yet renders them ultimately fleeting. Striking a balance requires embracing imperfection, recognizing that completion is less important than effort. Perhaps the unfinished thought itself holds value, a testament to curiosity, creativity, and courage. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human nature. Our capacity to imagine futures beyond ourselves reflects not just ambition, but also connection. Even as we create for ourselves, we create for others, for those who will carry forward what we begin, even if they must finish it for us. Think about how often great works span generations, cathedrals built over centuries, scientific discoveries built on prior research, stories passed down through oral traditions. Life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, to honor the finite while embracing the infinite within ourselves. And yet, here lies the challenge. How do we face impermanence without letting it overwhelm us? Impermanence is both a threat and a gift. It keeps us humble, reminding us that no plan is foolproof, no future guaranteed. At the same time, it invites curiosity, urging us to explore possibilities beyond what we already know. Maybe the key isn't eliminating uncertainty, but learning to dance with it, to hold space for both chaos and calm, trusting that life will unfold as it must. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on mortality transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. A deeper mystery awaits. Is tomorrow just a trick played by the present moment? The eternal present. Is tomorrow just a trick played by the present moment? Picture time not as a straight line, but as a single point perpetually unfolding. Each tomorrow dissolves into now the instant it arrives, leaving only the eternal present. What if the future is merely an illusion crafted by the mind to organize chaos? The idea of the eternal present challenges conventional notions of time. Mystics and philosophers alike, from Eckhart Tolle to Zen Buddhism, have argued that true reality exists only in the here and now. Science, too, hints at this truth. Quantum mechanics suggests that particles exist simultaneously across probabilities until observed, their states collapsing into definiteness through perception. Similarly, consciousness shapes our experience of time, transforming the abstract concept of future into tangible moments of now. If tomorrow always becomes today, then perhaps planning for the future distracts us from fully inhabiting the moment. After all, every breath we take, every thought we think occurs in the present. Tomorrow is nothing more than a projection, a story we tell ourselves to make sense of uncertainty. What would life look like lived entirely in the present? Would it foster mindfulness and gratitude, or lead to recklessness and short-sightedness? Imagine existing without the weight of schedules, deadlines, or expectations. Every action would be guided purely by instinct, intention, and immediate experience. There's freedom in this vision. No regrets about yesterday, no anxieties about what lies ahead. Yet there's also risk. Rejecting tomorrow's allure might mean abandoning responsibility, the careful consideration of consequences that ripple outward from each choice. Without some attention to the future, we risk neglecting obligations to others and ourselves. Striking a balance requires integrating both perspectives, honoring the present while respecting the ripple effects of decisions made within it. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human nature. Our capacity to imagine futures beyond the present moment reflects not just ambition, but also connection. Even as we dwell in the now, we create for later, for those who will carry forward what we begin, even if they must finish it for us. Think about how often great works span generations, cathedrals built over centuries, scientific discoveries built on prior research, stories passed down through oral traditions. Life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, to honor the finite while embracing the infinite within ourselves. And yet here lies the paradox. While the eternal present offers liberation, it also demands vigilance. To inhabit the now fully requires shedding distractions, both external and internal. It means letting go of the need to control outcomes, to cling to plans or predictions. This surrender can feel unsettling, even terrifying, yet it also brings clarity. When we stop chasing tomorrow, we find richness in today. We notice details otherwise overlooked. The texture of sunlight on skin, the rhythm of breath, the quiet hum of existence itself. These small wonders remind us that life happens not in grand gestures, but in fleeting instants. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on time transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. Let's follow that thread further. Are you ever truly in now, or always drifting toward next? The eternal present. Is tomorrow just a trick played by the present moment? Picture time not as a straight line, but as a single point perpetually unfolding. Each tomorrow dissolves into now, the instant it arrives, leaving only the eternal present. What if the future is merely an illusion crafted by the mind to organize chaos? The idea of the eternal present challenges conventional notions of time. Mystics and philosophers alike, from Eckhart Tolle to Zen Buddhism, have argued that true reality exists only in the here and now. Science, too, hints at this truth. Quantum mechanics suggests that particles exist simultaneously across probabilities until observed, their states collapsing into definiteness through perception. Similarly, consciousness shapes our experience of time, transforming the abstract concept of future into tangible moments of now. If tomorrow always becomes today, then perhaps planning for the future distracts us from fully inhabiting the moment. After all, every breath we take, every thought we think occurs in the present. Tomorrow is nothing more than a projection, a story we tell ourselves to make sense of uncertainty. What would life look like lived entirely in the present? Would it foster mindfulness and gratitude, or lead to recklessness and short-sightedness? Imagine existing without the weight of schedules, deadlines, or expectations. Every action would be guided purely by instinct, intention, and immediate experience. There's freedom in this vision. No regrets about yesterday, no anxieties about what lies ahead. Yet, there's also risk. Rejecting tomorrow's allure might mean abandoning responsibility, the careful consideration of consequences that ripple outward from each choice. Without some attention to the future, we risk neglecting obligations to others and ourselves. Striking a balance requires integrating both perspectives, honoring the present while respecting the ripple effects of decisions made within it. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human nature. Our capacity to imagine futures beyond the present moment reflects not just ambition, but also connection. Even as we dwell in the now, we create for later, for those who will carry forward what we begin, even if they must finish it for us. Think about how often great works span generations. Cathedrals built over centuries, scientific discoveries built on prior research, stories passed down through oral traditions. Life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, pour honor le fini tout en embrassant l'infini en nous-mêmes. And yet here lies the paradox. While the eternal present offers liberation, it also demands vigilance. To inhabit the now fully requires shedding distractions, both external and internal. It means letting go of the need to control outcomes, to cling to plans or predictions. This surrender can feel unsettling, even terrifying. Yet it also brings clarity. When we stop chasing tomorrow, we find richness in today. We notice details otherwise overlooked, the texture of sunlight on skin, the rhythm of breath, the quiet hum of existence itself. These small wonders remind us that life happens not in grand gestures, but in fleeting instants. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on time transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. Let's follow that thread further. Are you ever truly in now or always drifting toward next? What time do you live in? Are you ever truly in now or always drifting toward next? Pause for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you felt fully present, unburdened by thoughts of what's ahead or regrets about what's past? For many, the answer is elusive. Our minds seem wired to wander, to anticipate, plan, and ruminate, leaving the present moment perpetually out of reach. Why are we so restless? And what does it cost us? The human brain is a remarkable machine, capable of simulating countless scenarios across timelines. This ability has driven innovation, survival, and progress, but at a price. Constantly projecting to the future or revisiting the past fragments our attention, pulling us away from the richness of immediate experience. Philosophers like Heraclitus emphasized the fluidity of existence, declaring that you cannot step into the same river twice. Yet, modern life amplifies this disconnection. Technology demands our focus with endless notifications, schedules dictate our days down to the minute, societal pressures nudge us toward productivity over presence. The result? A paradoxical state where we live most of our lives outside the only moment we actually inhabit. What happens when we fail to dwell in the present? Relationships suffer as conversations become transactional, each interaction tinged with distraction. Creativity stagnates as imagination fixates on outcomes rather than processes, stifling the spontaneity that fuels original thought. Joy diminishes as anticipation overshadows fulfillment. We chase goals without savoring the steps along the way. Consider how often you've postponed happiness, telling yourself, "I'll enjoy it when," only to realize later that joy was available all along, hidden beneath layers of preoccupation. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on time transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. Conversely, embracing presence cultivates depth, connection, and clarity. Practices like mindfulness and meditation aim to anchor awareness in the now, but they require discipline, a conscious effort to resist the pull of temporal drift. Imagine existing fully within each breath, each movement, each interaction. There's freedom in this vision, no regrets about yesterday, no anxieties about tomorrow. Yet sustaining presence amidst life's demands proves challenging. Responsibilities tug at us, deadlines loom, distractions beckon. Striking a balance requires integrating both perspectives, honoring the present while respecting the ripple effects of choices made within it. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human nature. Our capacity to imagine futures beyond the present moment reflects not just ambition, but also connection. Even as we dwell in the now, we create for later, for those who will carry forward what we begin, even if they must finish it for us. Think about how often great works span generations. Cathedrals built over centuries, scientific discoveries built on prior research, stories passed down through oral traditions. Life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, to honor the finite while embracing the infinite within ourselves. And yet, here lies the challenge. How do we face impermanence without letting it overwhelm us? Impermanence is both a threat and a gift. It keeps us humble, reminding us that no plan is foolproof, no future guaranteed. At the same time, it invites curiosity, urging us to explore possibilities beyond what we already know. Maybe the key isn't eliminating uncertainty, but learning to dance with it, to hold space for both chaos and calm, trusting that life will unfold as it must. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on time transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. Now turn the page. Does the universe believe in tomorrow, or is it simply moving without caring where? What time do you live in? Are you ever truly in now, or always drifting toward next? Pause for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you felt fully present, unburdened by thoughts of what's ahead or regrets about what's past? For many, the answer is elusive. Our minds seem wired to wander, to anticipate, plan, and ruminate, leaving the present moment perpetually out of reach. Why are we so restless? And what does it cost us? The human brain is a remarkable machine, capable of simulating countless scenarios across timelines. This ability has driven innovation, survival, and progress, but at a price. Constantly projecting into the future or revisiting the past fragments our attention, pulling us away from the richness of immediate experience. Philosophers like Heraclitus emphasize the fluidity of existence, declaring that you cannot step into the same river twice. Yet, modern life amplifies this disconnection. Technology demands our focus with endless notifications. Schedules dictate our days down to the minute. Societal pressures nudge us toward productivity over presence. The result, a paradoxical state where we live most of our lives outside the only moment we actually inhabit. What happens when we fail to dwell in the present? Relationships suffer as conversations become transactional, each interaction tinged with distraction. Creativity stagnates as imagination fixates on outcomes rather than processes, stifling the spontaneity that fuels original thought. Joy diminishes as anticipation overshadows fulfillment. We chase goals without savoring the steps along the way. Consider how often you've postponed happiness, telling yourself, "I'll enjoy it when," only to realize later that joy was available all along, hidden beneath layers of preoccupation. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on time transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. Conversely, embracing presence cultivates depth, connection, and clarity. Practices like mindfulness and meditation aim to anchor awareness in the now, but they require discipline, a conscious effort to resist the pull of temporal drift. Imagine existing fully within each breath, each movement, each interaction. There's freedom in this vision. No regrets about yesterday, no anxieties about tomorrow. Yet, sustaining presence amidst life's demands proves challenging. Responsibilities tug at us, deadlines loom, distractions beckon. Striking a balance requires integrating both perspectives, honoring the present while respecting the ripple effects of choices made within it. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human nature. Our capacity to imagine futures beyond the present moment reflects not just ambition, but also connection. Even as we dwell in the now, we create for later. For those who will carry forward what we begin, even if they must finish it for us. Think about how often great works span generations. Cathedrals built over centuries, scientific discoveries built on prior research, stories passed down through oral traditions. Life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, to honor the finite while embracing the infinite within ourselves. And yet, here lies the challenge. How do we face impermanence without letting it overwhelm us? Impermanence is both a threat and a gift. It keeps us humble, reminding us that no plan is foolproof, no future guaranteed. At the same time, it invites curiosity, urging us to explore possibilities beyond what we already know. Maybe the key isn't eliminating uncertainty, but learning to dance with it, to hold space for both chaos and calm, trusting that life will unfold as it must. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on time transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. Now, turn the page. Does the universe believe in tomorrow, or is it simply moving without caring where? Does the universe believe in tomorrow? Does the universe believe in tomorrow, or is it simply moving without caring where? Gaze up at the stars and consider their indifference. Galaxies collide, planets form and dissolve, black holes devour light, all without purpose or direction. If the cosmos operates beyond human notions of time, then what meaning can we assign to concepts like future or progress? Are these ideas uniquely ours, or do they reflect something deeper? From a cosmic perspective, time loses its anthropocentric significance. The universe unfolds according to physical laws, indifferent to human narratives of beginnings, middles, and ends. Astrophysicists describe phenomena like entropy and dark energy, which govern the fate of everything from atoms to galaxies. These forces operate on scales so vast that our individual lives seem impossibly small in comparison. Yet, within this immense expanse, humanity carves out meaning through storytelling, art, and science. We create timelines, measure epochs, and dream of futures shaped by our choices. Philosophers like Albert Camus grappled with this tension, arguing that absurdity arises precisely because humans seek purpose in an indifferent universe. Still, our acts of creation imbue existence with value, even if that value exists solely within our perception. What happens when we confront the reality of cosmic indifference? On one hand, acknowledging it humbles us, reminding us of our smallness. The same stars that inspire wonder also remind us of our fleeting place in the grand scheme of things. A single lifetime is but a blink in the eye of eternity. Yet this awareness carries a strange kind of liberation. If the universe doesn't care about tomorrow, then perhaps we are free to define meaning on our own terms, untethered from external validation. This realization invites both awe and agency. Awe at the grandeur of existence, agency in shaping how we navigate it. Ultimately, perhaps tomorrow matters not because the universe cares, but because we do. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human resilience. Our capacity to imagine futures beyond the present moment reflects not just ambition, but also connection. Even as we dwell in the now, we create for later, for those who will carry forward what we begin, even if they must finish it for us. Think about how often great works span generations. Cathedrals built over centuries, scientific discoveries built on prior research, stories passed down through oral traditions. Life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, to honor the finite while embracing the infinite within ourselves. And yet, here lies the paradox. While the universe may be indifferent, our awareness of its indifference gives rise to meaning. It is precisely because we know the cosmos doesn't care that we feel compelled to care deeply. To love, to build, to dream, to leave behind something that whispers, "I was here." These acts transform insignificance into significance, chaos into coherence. They remind us that life happens not in grand gestures, but in fleeting instants. Each breath, each thought, each connection becomes a testament to our presence in a universe that otherwise moves without notice. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on time transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. Let's continue. If tomorrow is an illusion, is memory a lie? If tomorrow is an illusion, is memory a lie? If tomorrow is an illusion, is memory a lie? Consider the fragility of recollection. Details blur, emotions shift, narratives rewrite themselves over time. Memories feel real, visceral, tangible, alive. Yet neuroscience reveals they're reconstructed each time we access them, influenced by context and bias. Like sand slipping through fingers, the past refuses to stay fixed. If the future isn't certain, can the past be trusted? Or are both equally malleable constructs of the mind? Memory serves as humanity's bridge between past and present, grounding identity and experience. It shapes who we believe ourselves to be, weaving fragments into a cohesive story. Yet its reliability is questionable. Studies show that memories aren't stored like files in a cabinet, but assembled anew from scattered pieces every time they're recalled. Context, suggestion, even fleeting emotions can alter their shape. Philosophers like Nietzsche questioned whether history itself, the collective memory of civilizations, is more myth than fact. Nations craft narratives to unify or divide. Families pass down stories polished by retelling. Even personal memories evolve, reshaped by current perspectives and desires. This fluidity challenges notions of truth, raising profound questions about authenticity. If neither past nor future offers certainty, then what anchors us in reality? What happens when memory fails or deceives? For some, loss of recall erodes identity, leaving gaps where once there was continuity. Others grapple with false memories, vivid yet fabricated, distorting relationships and decisions. The implications are unsettling. If our most cherished moments might not be true, how do we know ourselves at all? And yet, imperfection also grants flexibility. Memories adapt to help us cope, heal, and grow. A traumatic event may soften over time, allowing survival. A joyful moment might gain richness through reflection. Accepting their fallibility requires courage, a willingness to embrace uncertainty rather than cling to absolutes. Perhaps the essence of memory lies less in fidelity than in function, preserving enough coherence to guide us forward while allowing reinterpretation to enrich understanding. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human nature. Our capacity to reconstruct the past mirrors our ability to imagine futures beyond the present moment. Both acts reflect creativity, an attempt to make sense of chaos, to impose order on flux. Think about how often storytelling bridges these realms. Myths explain origins, dreams envision possibilities. Life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, to honor the finite while embracing the infinite within ourselves. And yet, here lies the paradox. While memory's unreliability unsettles us, it also liberates us. To remember imperfectly is to forgive ourselves for being human, to accept that no single version of the past holds ultimate truth. Each retelling becomes an act of creation, a way of rewriting not just what happened, but what it means. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on memory transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now. A deeper mystery awaits. What would life feel like if tomorrow were erased from language? A world without next. What would life feel like if tomorrow were erased from language? Imagine a society devoid of words for future tense, where communication focuses exclusively on the here and now. How would such a world differ from our own? Would it foster greater presence or breed chaos? Language shapes thought, influencing how we perceive and interact with reality. Cultures lacking robust frameworks for discussing the future often prioritize immediacy, emphasizing lived experience over abstract planning. Linguistic relativity, the idea that language determines worldview, suggests that removing tomorrow could fundamentally alter consciousness. Without linguistic tools to envision possibilities, individuals might focus more intently on the present, cultivating mindfulness and resourcefulness. Consider how different life might feel without the weight of deadlines, expectations, or anxieties about what lies ahead. Each moment would demand full attention, each action grounded in immediate necessity. Yet, this absence could also hinder long-term thinking, limiting innovation and cooperation. After all, much of human progress depends on imagining futures beyond the now, on planting seeds today for harvests yet unseen. Would eliminating tomorrow liberate us or constrain us? On one hand, shedding the burden of anticipation could deepen engagement with the moment, fostering resilience and joy. Freed from the tyranny of tomorrow, we might savor simple pleasures, the warmth of sunlight, the rhythm of breath, the quiet hum of existence itself. These small wonders remind us that life happens not in grand gestures but in fleeting instants. Yet, abandoning foresight risks short-sightedness, jeopardizing sustainability and progress. Think about how often great works span generations. Cathedrals built over centuries, scientific discoveries built on prior research, stories passed down through oral traditions. Life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in holding space for both, to honor the finite while embracing the infinite within ourselves. Moreover, this exploration reveals something profound about human nature. Our capacity to imagine futures beyond the present moment reflects not just ambition, but also connection. Even as we dwell in the now, we create for later, for those who will carry forward what we begin, even if they must finish it for us. Finding balance depends on integrating both modes of being, honoring immediacy while respecting consequences. Perhaps the true challenge lies not in erasing tomorrow, but in redefining it as a horizon rather than a destination. Tomorrow becomes less a promise and more an invitation, a way to guide us forward without overshadowing the beauty of today. And yet, here lies the paradox. While the absence of tomorrow offers liberation, it also demands vigilance. To inhabit the now fully requires shedding distractions, both external and internal. It means letting go of the need to control outcomes, to cling to plans or predictions. This surrender can feel unsettling, even terrifying. Yet it also brings clarity. When we stop chasing tomorrow, we find richness in today. We notice details otherwise overlooked, the texture of sunlight on skin, the rhythm of breath, the quiet hum of existence itself. These small wonders remind us that life happens not in grand gestures, but in fleeting instants. This realization invites gratitude for the tools that guide us, however imperfectly, and for the awareness itself. Even the act of reflecting on time transforms it, turning what could feel oppressive into something sacred. By acknowledging our reliance on its promise, we begin to reclaim it, not as a guarantee, but as an invitation to keep moving forward. After all, life unfolds unpredictably, weaving together threads of intention and chance. Perhaps the art of living lies in honoring both, to hold space for tomorrow while fully inhabiting now.